Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you are. This is the Halligans and Half Wheels podcast. We thank you for tuning in. Coming to you not live, not really local, and not really late breaking from, once again, Lumberton Firehouse number 1 in downtown Lumberton, North Carolina, off the I-95 corridor, joined by none other than Big John Chamberlain. How are you this evening, sir?
I am lovely, sir. How are you?
If I was any better, I'd probably be you.
That'd be great.
Two of us. I don't think the world could handle it. Also joined by Curtis Michaud. How are you, sir?
Great. How about yourself?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Still trying to dry off from this afternoon.
Yeah, this afternoon was very wet. Water is wet.
It is.
Even moist.
And that's a familiar voice of Chief Eddie Cox. Chief, how are you?
Doing great. Having a good day.
It's great. Done a little training today. Got some sweat equity in. Did some things that some folks have never done.
Yep.
So it's been a great day. So what's going on in y'all's world? We haven't talked for a little while.
Some things we can't talk about. Some things we can.
Okay.
Some positive things coming forward
For y'all?
for us.
Sure.
Chief West out of his probationary period.
Okay.
So
Oh, so everyone's loose.
a little easier.
Okay, cool.
Take a deep breath.
All right, cool.
Getting ready to start a new budget.
That's always a nice thing.
Yep.
Well, good. How's everything else? Family's good? You just got a daughter that had married?
Family's good. Just got through with another one of my kids getting murdered. I'm sorry, married.
Wow.
The baby girl.
I'm not convinced that she's his. Have you seen this child?
I mean,
I have.
I'm just not convinced that it's his.
if you feed them long enough, they're yours.
Is that like the old common law marriage?
Hey, call it what you want.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I'm glad that you all had a good wedding. We've gotten some good training. Curtis, what's been new on your radar?
Not a whole lot. Just working things at the fire department and working part-time and trying to get the farm thing going at the house.
All right. Well, that's good. You had an
So-
interesting day the other day, yeah?
Yeah, had a bunch of mishaps happen. Tried to drive the tractor home from the shop, which was about 2.5 miles from the house, and made it about a mile from the house and just started rolling smoke out the rear end. Thought it was done. Ended up just being the brakes seized up, so I took them off.
Because brakes are important?
They're
or-
not important on a hydrostatic driven tractor.
Oh, and you're just basically mowing, right?
Yeah, mowing,
Open
using the
fields.
bucket. Yeah, using the bucket for the driveway, moving gravel, things like that.
We're not talking fine work. We're talking rough work,
Exactly.
farm work.
No finishing mowers out there. Just all bush hogs.
Just all brush
All bush hogs.
I hear you. John, you got anything new?
I bought some new socks. That's about the only thing new.
New socks.
Comfy socks, cushion sole,
Oh, from,
moisture wicking.
from Rot
supposedly.
Rooster?
No, I've got them on right now, actually.
All right. All right. Well, cool. What are you smoking this evening?
I am smoking one of our best. Got to stay true to the brand, so I'm
I
smoking
appreciate
a box
that.
cigar.
Box 1971 cigar. Curtis, is that what you have in your hand? You've got a 70 gauge. I think John's got a
Yes.
50 gauge. What do you got there, Chief Cox?
I got a big old 70.
Yeah, you got a big 70 Maduro, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
my
that's-
favorite.
Yeah, I like the dark cigars as well. They're it just tastes a lot better. I don't know what it is like when you get down to the last third. So, well, good. What's new in the fire service for y'all that we can talk about? Don't everybody jump in at once. I mean,
That's probably a think before we speak.
Yeah.
Silence.
well, let's talk about FDIC. So everybody wants to talk about all the things that they do that are fun and exciting. I mean, I've heard a lot of people went to FDIC. I heard it was anticlimactic. It really wasn't great for some people. I've heard other people say it was a lot of fun. I heard a lot of people say that they went and bought T-shirts and looked at all the free stuff and didn't take any classes. So let's talk about experiences with FDIC.
I've never been myself.
Me neither.
I've never been.
It's a dog and pony show. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of stuff there. I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, they put it like 30,000 firemen in Indianapolis, which I don't know if is ever a good idea. Fire engineering does a great job with it. So, you know, it's one of those topics, you know, that a lot of people, they don't want to go to training. It seems to be a common theme.
Very much so.
Yeah.
That they want to wear the T-shirt, but if they got to put some sweat into it, they hide out.
Sure. And that makes sense, you know. But even our local, you know, I guess what you'd call expos or conferences even have,
Yeah.
the same attendance problems.
Yeah, we had a lot of, well, the last couple of years, of course, that dreaded C word, COVID, and I think people are using it as an excuse to slack off and just not put forth their full effort. And
Sure.
that's just my honest, humble, accurate opinion.
So let me ask you this. I just looked up on the United States Fire Administration. There have been 1,040 deaths as of today, May the 14th.
Too many.
Civilian deaths, nonetheless. And some of the worst states are Pennsylvania with 72, and New York with 72, and Texas with 70. North Carolina's had 33.
Still too many.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So my question is does it come down to a training issue? Does it come down to a staffing issue? What do you think the root problem is, and how do we fix it?
For a lot of people, they just, I don't think they realize the benefit of the training. You know, like today, we're not training to pull hose, to fight fire or anything. We're trying to work on how to get our guys out if the crap hits the fan with them.
Sure, the sugar turns to shit.
Yeah, when it gets shitty.
That's right.
So, I volunteer career, whatever. It's just some people are there for a paycheck or for the T-shirt, and
Sure.
they're not really committed 100%.
Sure. I mean, can you imagine if we did the same things the same way all the time, where we would be?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, you think about that. 1,040 people in less than 6 months. And I know it's not really funny, but it seems like everybody goes home but the homeowner.
Yeah.
And that's pretty scary. I'm not a big fan. Was perusing fire engineering, virtual driven training.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that or disagree with it. I mean, Curtis, what are your thoughts? You're a younger captain. You work with some younger guys. What are your thoughts maybe on this VR training or computer-based training?
I think really just depends on the topics in which you're covering. You know, whether it's policy review, you know, you got to do that annually. If you're talking about as far as you know, objectives to be met on the fire ground, you know, some departments offer like a task sheet for checkoffs. You know, first 5 minutes this. You know, make sure you're calling for all these resources and hitting these blocks. You know, and it's good for that stuff. But when it comes to the hands-on training, I really think there is no virtual compromise to meet that same standard.
Sure, absolutely.
Now, training videos can be good as far as if your department or, you know, some of the topics you're covering have a hose lay that's specific to that station. If, you know, whether it's 5-inch, 2.5, whether it's 1 3/4, you know, things like that departments can do to make it special to their department.
Sure.
You know, those types of videos are good for those coming in, those, you know, the new guys on the job, learning how things are before they put their hands on it. But going back to like what we did today, you can't
Explain
get
to
that.
folks that are listening what we did today. And what we're doing this
So
weekend.
today we covered the Nance drill. And plain and simple is just rescuing a fireman that fell through a floor, roof, you know, etc. But it's just falling a floor below you. And really just went over how to do it with somewhat bare necessities. Obviously for the class portion we had to have a lot of redundancies and safeties in effect, but for the most part it was how to bring a fireman up through a hole using 2 50-foot pieces of rope and a hand line, and that was it.
Sure. And for those that don't know or don't keep up or don't read, I'm going to paraphrase an article from Columbus Monthly that the headline simply reads, "The Murder of Columbus Firefighter John Nance from the City of Columbus, Ohio Division of Fire." This guy was a fireman for 27 years, 27. That's a lot of years. And he was in a busy house, engine house number 2 at 4th and Fulton in downtown Columbus. By all accounts, he was a fireman's fireman. And he burned in a building and died on a Saturday. And so the idea is to get a firefighter from below grade up and using ropes or ladders or whatever means necessary to get someone out. But I like the headline, "The Murder of John Nance." That is
That's a catchy title.
well, it's
Very
not just catchy. It's not clickbait like it, you know.
Right.
You think of like Newsmax or Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, they use a lot of clickbait. Or you look at your social media feeds, they have a lot of, "You'll
Click
never
here."
believe what they said about Johnny Depp."
Click here to see your neighbor.
Yeah, absolutely. But it says here numerous men, including Nance and the firefighters and his crew, left the building to change their air cylinders and to be hosed down with water. And their warning bells and their CBAs were going off. And they went back. And he was. There was one firefighter standing at the door, ready to make a second assault. And this gentleman says that he talked to him. You know, how would you take that? You know, and then you get people that don't want to come out and train or do the job. You know, nobody knows how he fell into the shoe shop basement. No one understands how it happened or what happened. But it was about 70 feet inside. And they said over the radio that we've got a firefighter burning underneath of us. We've got to open up the floor. And that's terrible, right?
Yep.
But what do you do at whatever time of the day, whether it's 7 in the morning, 7 at night, or 3 in the morning, or 3 at night in the afternoon, when you don't have the skill set to go forward? And that was just one of the drills that we did. Tomorrow we'll do the Denver drill to go through. A lot of folks don't partake in these trainings because they are, I think, demanding. Would that be a fair word?
Demanding.
Sweat equity, actually.
Sweat
That was just
equity?
Real
That's fair.
sweat equity.
Sure. I mean, there's people that, I mean, we had one kid drive all the way up from South Carolina.
We did.
You know, just think about making rescue attempts. You know, when we talk about rescuing a brother or a sister, it's one of those things. You know, you kind of want the ball. You know, you want the person there, and you want them to have the experience. You want them to have the knowledge. But what happens when they don't have that knowledge from training or anything to build from? I've been here 20 years. Well, what happens if you've only been to one fire a year, and you repeated your first year 20 times?
You really have nothing to go back on. You
Yeah.
have nothing to go back on.
No,
really.
absolutely. You have nothing. And so it, you know, the one hard thing is that we focus on that are, that are just so terrible is that we still have to put the fire out.
Yep.
And with staffing the way that it is, you
Yeah.
know, if you've only got 10 people on, 13 people on, 20 people on, and you put a fireman down, it's going to take 7, 8 guys to get that one fireman out.
That was one of the big things we saw today.
Yeah, and you can't prepare people for it unless they actually know what's going on. So it was very, very good to see folks put hands on and do things. We've done this training multiple times, and it's worked out very well and famously. So we're thankful for that. So talk to him about the rest of the day. What we've been doing.
As far as what the plans are after the Nance drill and all that fancy
Yeah,
stuff?
like what we're gonna do tomorrow with the, you know, we're gonna burn. We're gonna do some things.
Yeah, so tomorrow's schedule is going to be pretty much the same thing it was today. We'll have the burn building today, so we'll actually be able to go on the rooftop and go through the floor instead of, you know, we used the trench prop today, which was good, but, you know, a lot of stuff down there gets muddy.
Right.
It didn't smell the best.
We had
And
good
it
air
also
monitoring.
rained. Yeah, so, but, you know, had to use like the tripod and all that fancy stuff. It kind of hindered the operations when you have to have an anchor from above versus an anchor to the side of the entrance or the side of the hole versus going over the top. You know, you got rope everywhere, you got your pulleys, all that fancy stuff. So tomorrow our plan is using the bomb-proof anchor that's on top of the burn building, being able to go through the scuttle hole that's on the roof into the second floor. You know, once again, go over the crews with the rope drills, go over them with the hose drills, and then go through the Denver prop, maybe put some reps in on the force door, and then use the firebox.
The Max Firebox, absolutely.
Go over a few things with that, and
You know,
hopefully it should wrap up a good day.
Yeah, I think so too. The you know, when we talk about the Denver drill, think about 55 minutes. 55 minutes. Think about how long that is.
Yep.
That's how long the guys tried in Denver to get their firemen out the window. 55 minutes. They couldn't get him out. You know, and that's why they came up with the Denver drill. And when people don't go and look, and I say people a lot, when firemen don't go and put in any equity or look or have any ambition to train, it's tragic. I mean, that's the one thing that we do here is we train pretty regularly and pretty hard. So You know, some drills don't have a name. Some drills are local to some people. Like you guys use an Ottawa hose load, right?
Yes.
Where does Ottawa come from? Is that Canada?
I have no idea. Honestly, the way it was brought here, the best of my knowledge was some guy from out of town stopped by at Station 3 and was like, hey, check out this hose lay where I'm from. He was touring the station, talking
Sure.
to the guys. And
Was he buffing or just hanging out?
No, he was just hanging out. He was a guy from out of town, wanted to check out the fire station, and they were exchanging some information and stories. And next thing you know, Engine 3 come down and was like, hey, this guy taught us this load. And we tested it out, and everybody seemed to like it, and that's what we run now.
Sure.
So
let me ask you this, Chief. Again, I was telling you, I was looking at the old fire engineering, his reading. The mass shooting in the Buffalo, New York supermarket. What plans does the fire department have in place for some type of event like that? I'm not involved much in that level of planning. What do you have on the radar for your troops for something like that?
We're going to be what our initial response is going to be is respond to the scene stage. We have trained some with law enforcement in the past.
Okay.
If we need to go inside to pull people back,
Sure.
With them running as the point man. The problem we have is, we don't have the protective vest, the ballistics, and stuff like that.
Or the firearms fire back.
Yeah, firearms fire back. Well, some do, some don't.
Sure.
But anyway, in that situation, we're going to be a supportive measure.
Sure.
Go into triage. That's going to be.
It's a chaotic deal.
Yeah. It's going to be all hands on deck.
I saw a video the other day of one of the Columbine survivors. I can't imagine what that was like because I remember when that happened.
Yeah.
A lot of kids, you look at them today and they don't have a clue what Columbine is. That was a shooting in Colorado. Well, I think it was the first school shooting. One of the first.
It was, at the time, it was labeled the worst school shooting.
Yeah, I want to say that was 99.
Several kids murdered by two guys that just were not. They were. I'm not gonna call them misfits, but
They murdered 12 on April the 12th of 1999
yeah.
in the school.
Set up booby traps outside.
Yeah. And it's hard to plan for something like that. You can have all the SOPs and SOGs in the world, but when the real world strikes, it becomes one of those real deals.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to have leaders, not just bosses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to burn tomorrow. We're going to do some fire behavior in the Max Firebox. We're going to do some Denver drills. We're going to do some Nance drills. We're going to do, I think we're going to get some reps in on the multi-force door from Firehouse Innovations.
game on. Beautiful doors.
It's always fun.
Awesome tool.
Yeah, very, very much.
Very robust.
Had a call with Mikey P, who owns Firehouse Innovations. We had a very good conversation, and we're going to be going to New York in July. We're going to sit down and film an episode with him, and then we're going to sit down with, finally, after much ado and logistical work, to sit down with Captain Farrell of Ladder 31 of the FDNY from the war years. So that's always interesting. Shameless plug for him. If you can get on Amazon and you're listening to this, you need to find his book, The War Years. All the profits from that book go to the Joey D. Foundation and the Legion Fund. And a lot of folks don't know, and maybe this is something for you, Chief. The Joey D. Foundation provides bailout kits for firefighters and fire departments that can't necessarily afford them. So they've got all that money and they put it right back into the fire service. And I think that's a huge, huge asset. So just something to put on your radar if anybody's listening to this. That's the Joey D. Foundation. His father's in charge of it, and they do exquisite, exquisite work. Absolutely. So, and I think it's an open grant period. I don't know when. You'll have to look at their website. They don't pay us to say it. I just think it's something good. So, what do you think, Big John? You're sitting over there awful coy-like, cocked back in your chair.
I'm just enjoying the conversation. So
Sure, I get it. I get it fully.
Cigar's great.
The cigars are great. We have some of the best tobacco, I think. Maybe I'm biased because I helped make the blend, but
No way.
I can't wait to get to Miami. guys are just itching to go hang out and smoke all day long at the factory. It's a fun trip. Just coming off a couple elevator classes. That was, I guess we're going to come back down here and do an elevator class, if I'm understanding that
That's what
correctly.
we're going to be trying to work on.
Yeah,
We'll try to make it happen.
I think that'll be a good class to jump in on. I think that'll be a fun time. So, I want to talk about leadership. So, just got a text message that said, "Hey, I couldn't make the podcast tonight. I want you guys to talk about leadership." And so I texted back and I said, "Hey, it's going to be, a month or two before this airs. So, sorry for the delay." But this isn't Burger King and you don't get it your way. So I kind of want to talk, about leadership and what it is to you, John, as a boss, and what it means to you when you are a fireman. Because a lot of people think leadership is just a word in the dictionary. They think it's just an action. So I kind of want to hear your thoughts and how we can prepare the future.
Well, a good boss comes from a great fireman. And to make a great fireman, you have to have a great senior man. You've got to have the man to take the new boy under his wing and mentor him the way he was mentored. Passing the buck, whatever you want to call it. So you start out with great firemen. They become officers. They want to treat their guys like they were brought up or better, or they should. Just because you got a different color helmet doesn't mean, hey, go mop the floor, or don't use your power to push around. Shit. I mean, if it needs to be done, you mop the floor.
So you're saying there's nothing wrong with the boss cleaning the floor?
Absolutely not.
I watched a chief yesterday go absolutely apeshit wild when the guys were going to clean his office. He didn't want them in his office. That was his space. It's not that he didn't trust them. It's not that he had anything bad to say about their work. That was his space. He created the mess. He wanted to clean it.
Absolutely.
I can get down with that kind of boss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you.
I mean, I would. Hey, if my guys wanted to be ambitious and do it, good for them. But like you said, I made the mess. I'm gonna clean it up. Hell, you want to be ambitious? Go out there and start polishing up some wheels.
Amen. My grandpa used to have a deal. He would run his fingers under the wheel well and ask how busy your day was. Oh, you guys have been busy? Oh, then he would leave you alone. But if you weren't busy and he knew it, he'd come in and rub the underside of that fender well. Boy, if he found dirt, bad day.
Yep.
Bad day. Miss him every day. Miss him every day. That was a leader. He never yelled. Never yelled.
Just the action took care of itself.
It was the look.
Yeah.
It was the look. I haven't perfected it yet. My old man tells me I'm getting close, but I'm working on it. I've got more of my dad's. I think it skipped a generation, maybe. I've got more of my dad in me. I'm a short fuse and a loud pop. So.
You just don't say.
Yeah, it's just pretty bad. But I refuse to take medication for it. I can't get down with it. So Curtis, what about leadership for you?
Well, I'm not going to reiterate everything John said, about having the strong base and stuff forward. I think it really comes down to paying attention to your surroundings. Whether you like the individuals you served with or under, they still have characteristics in which you can absorb. So whatever the case may be, you didn't like the way they ran their daily schedule. All right, cool. You didn't like it. You can deviate from that and make it to a way in which fits your style. Understanding when's the time to tell people to do things and the difference of when to ask for them. Knowing the difference in solving the problem for your team or allowing the team to solve the problem themselves. But also never forgetting that at the end of the day, one, you're still a human being, but two, this is a business.
What do you mean by business?
well, the way you see it, you got customers, which are the citizens.
Sure.
They still expect a high level of care. They still require and you know, they want the best that we can give them. So
Do you think that's anything wrong with expecting that?
no, absolutely not. I mean, it's just like what they think we do all day versus what we really do all day.
Yeah.
You know, the whole just going to the grocery store, watching TV, waiting for calls.
Fire department, call out.
Right. You know, that's a hard stigma to break. I think when I started, that stigma was there. 12, 13 years later, that's still apparently what all career firemen do.
Right.
But
It's a hard stigma to break.
right, and so is the fact that at the end of the day, the fire department is a business. It may not exchange money from customers to the business, but they're still our customers. Therefore, we have to provide the service in which they expect.
Well, speaking of which, talking about customers and what they expect, we were at the grocery store and we had a Joe citizen walk up to us and he said, "Well, what am I buying you guys for supper tonight?" And it was actually one of the fellas' birthdays, and the number 2 house was going to come up and eat with us. And y'all eating good tonight? No, sir. We buy the food. None of your taxpayer money comes to benefit us, you know, especially with raises and whatnot. But we're not going to get into that. I mean, I agree with you.
So I mean, and that's what, you know, and some of the firemen that I've ran into in my career, they expect you to always stand up for them. And I feel like sometimes they just don't want to accept the fact that at the end of the day is a business. If they did wrong, they did wrong. You know, whether there's punishment to come from it is a whole different thing. However, actions can't go unwanted, whether it's, you know, a good thing or a bad thing. So that's just one of those things that I try to get them to understand, is that, yes, there is a personal aspect of things. Yes, we can be family. Yes, we can be friends.
Right.
But at the same time, when the tones drop, we have to be professional.
You come to work to do a job,
Exactly.
not to make friends.
Exactly.
If you make friends, that's a perk. And like what you said, family. But we come to get a job done. We don't come to BS around. I mean, what the mentality should be.
Right.
Now we do our fair share of BSing around, but
Sure.
Oh, of course.
I mean, we're here for 24 hours together, and
Sometimes 48.
I mean, we're a
36.
family, so we get on each other's nerves, and you got to do something to break up the monotony a little bit, you know?
Exactly. And that's why I said it's not always a bad thing to serve under officers that you don't agree with. You still have to have that respect for them, but you can understand, you know, when we talked about it earlier today on my little soapbox during training, it's like history of your department is important.
Did you ever depart your soapbox?
Yes, I believe I did.
We're going to take a straw poll on that in a little bit.
Oh,
Go ahead.
right then. You know, a lot of fire departments that don't have the godly look to them, that have the newspaper articles, that have things hanging up on the wall, you know, massive fires they went throughout the year. If you don't have that accessible to you, then you need to find the new guy, or you need to find the senior guy.
Right.
The guy that's been there, that's seen the times. Most of the time, the fire service is a revolving door. So whatever crisis we're going through now, whether it's shift shortage, pay decreasing, you know, pay needing to be increased, cost of living going up, you talk to some of these guys that have been here 20 plus years, it's the same thing that happened 15 plus years ago. They've been through it once.
You mean it's cyclical?
Yes.
No.
It's insane.
It's like a circle.
Yeah, it's a circle. There's
Don't
no
try-
start, there's no
But
corners.
you brought up a strong word, senior man. Now, in today's fire service, how old is your senior man?
Senior men are
I
becoming
mean, 23,
yeah,
24?
younger. Yep.
I mean, your officers are younger.
Yep, they are, and it's one of those things where we have to adapt and overcome. You have to believe in the system in which you work for. You have to believe that those on the admin side would not promote somebody if the potential of them being able to handle it, knowing that they're not going to stop
Absolutely.
to better themselves, is an option. You know, it's never a good thing to become stagnant. So, you know, that's the only reason why I've taken so many classes and gone to the places I've gone, so that not only going for the class, but you go to a different area,
one, you see the apparatuses. Two, you get to talking with the guys. You see different SOPs, SOGs, some that might be similar to where you're at, and some that are completely different.
Right.
Hose lays, gear, tools, equipment, how they run, the schedule, the types of calls, the types of district, the buildings they have in that district. That all that stuff to me is something that you can't get in the classroom.
Right.
So that's why I've started branching out as to where I take my classes.
Sure.
One, you take a lot of classes in your local area. There's nothing wrong with it, but at some point you're going to run out of one classes, or two, you're going to run into the same instructors teaching multiple different classes. And there's nothing wrong with that. I use the example when we were down at Sunset Beach teaching. Well, Jeremy was. I was taking the class. I told the guy, I said, Sunset Beach is a good fire department. I said, but they have 2 stations. If you had somebody in that area that was teaching fire officer, a class that goes based on budgeting, delegation of engines, ladders, things like that. If you had an individual that was teaching that class and is only known 2 fire departments, and you go 3 hours up the road to take it to a guy who's an officer at a department that has 11 stations, who are you going to get more information than other than just the book on that specific subject?
Right.
Just like TR and ropes. TR ropes around here is pretty good. They teach the book. Some people have a lot of experience. You go take a TR ropes in the mountains, that's their everyday business.
Oh yeah, that's
They're going to tie knots with their eyes closed in their sleep behind their back. That's their everyday bread and butter.
Absolutely.
So why not go to the area that has that in the bag and learn from it?
Or bring that bag to you.
Right. So that's just, one of the things that I've learned over the last few years is just trying to branch out as to where I go to classes. And taking a bunch of these leadership classes and just talking to people is how I formulated my conversation points.
Sure.
So when you come to me as an officer, we're on duty. You get asked 3 questions. Is this going to be a supervisor to a fireman conversation? Are you looking for a firefighter to firefighter conversation? Or are you looking at Curtis to John conversation?
right.
And we must identify which one of those 3 we're going to have before the conversation takes place. Because if you're asking for a Curtis to John conversation and we start cussing and rambling at each other, that's okay. That's a personal conversation. But if you come in there and start cussing and it turns out to be a supervisor firefighter conversation, it's going to go a little bit differently. But I've learned that technique based off of classes and working with officers that, 1, didn't care, or 2, cared too much. Some cared about popularity versus what's really right and what's wrong. So, and I try to avoid my office like the plague. I hate that place, even when the AC works. That's just how I've always been. I don't like sitting behind a computer. Don't like doing paperwork. It's definitely been something I've had to adapt to since being promoted, but
Soul sucking.
very seldomly am I in that room. I will sacrifice my time after 5 o'clock before I sacrifice work time with the guys.
Let me ask you, Curtis. You mentioned the officer classes. Do they mention anything? You talked about, they talk about budgeting and all that sort of fun stuff. But do they teach you about the conversations that you just talked about? Like when you come in and you got a fireman who has a problem behind closed doors, whatever you need to do. Does that officer class teach you how to, I guess, mitigate that situation or how to change the tone?
Absolutely not. I never received any type of what I would consider informal officer training. Fire officer classes are very formal. They teach you how to be an officer, in my opinion, in an administrative role, and not necessarily
officer.
A line officer with a crew. The first class I had that actually dealt with the raw conversations that no one has to have, regardless of what it is, real personal shit, real things that can happen in your office, was the class that y'all came and taught, which was officership. But that's all it was: making policies, letting everybody know how hard it can be. Second, how unanimously disliked you can become by creating a policy.
In a hurry.
And also how to have the conversations, whether it be, i.e., drug problem, marital problems, things like that. And that's not something you get in an officer class. Definitely not.
Absolutely.
Did a quick search, 0.57 seconds, that comes up here on leadership. Leadership is the ability of an individual or group of individuals to influence and guide followers or other members of an organization. And you scroll down, it says the top characteristics and qualities of a good leader: integrity, ability to delegate, communication, self-awareness, gratitude, ability, learning, agility, influence, empathy. And it goes on and on and on and on, and the list just keeps going, right? I almost read this list, and there's nothing wrong with these people that sit down in these think tanks and think about this stuff and just think of shit for us to do or to have to learn. But it almost seems like to me that you're like a guy at the circus with a plate on a broomstick, and all you're doing is trying to balance it.
Yep.
Or a beach ball on a broomstick.
Yep.
And oh, by the way, we expect you to be a good tactician on the fireground. We expect you to provide excellent patient care. We expect you to provide hazmat services. We expect you to be a technical rescuer. We expect you to know how to bust up cars. We expect you to know how to drift traffic on an incident. We expect you to know how to do all these different things. But hey, you got a gold seal and you're good to go. A great analogy was brought to me by a friend, and I love it, and I'm going to share it. He just texted me. He says, I haven't been in, I don't want to misquote him, so I'm going to read the text actually as it came in. It says, it's been 13 years since I slept in a community bunk room. It felt like we were all kids at a sleepover. This coming from a 35-year-old man in the fire service who's a senior guy. Home run dude. Home run. I'm not going to mention his name. Home run, he knows who he is. But I come back to an analogy that was given to me. It says, are you going to do the drywall at your house 3 times? Or are you going to fuck it up and then come back and hire the professional to do it right the last time when you should have started it right the first time?
Right.
And that to me hit me dead square between the eyes. Did I laugh? Absolutely. And I hope I'm kind of paraphrasing what he said. I hope I didn't misquote him. If you're listening to this, buddy, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't butcher what you said. But it cracks me up that we are in this service, and we are expected to be all these different things, and we're not really good at any of them.
Right.
And we're given a little, I've been a captain for 25 years. Cool. You can't tie a clove hitch.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, but what's the rest of that?
I have no fucking
I can't remember that. That, it's one of those. There was a thing on the old Tic Tac.
Hey.
I can't remember. I love Tic Tac. All right, here's the full quote. A jack of all trades, master of none is a figure of speech to reference someone who has dabbled in many skills rather than gaining expertise by focusing on one. The original version, jack of all trades, is often a compliment for a person who's very good at fixing things. But the original saying was, I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. But I mean, a master of none or master of one, I get it. But it's hard. I just don't get that, what the deal is. But that's just me. I don't know. Just
Because it's what the customer wants.
well, it's what the customer wants. But does the customer always know necessarily what they exactly want?
Nope.
They don't know what they want. They want somebody to come solve their problems,
Correct.
but they don't necessarily know what it takes to fix those problems, because this is it's a job of broken people.
Correct.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with being broken.
No.
But we expect people to be hireable, is what they say. Or he's somebody's booty booty.
I'm somebody's booty booty.
I like that system. It's worked out well.
It's worked out well for you.
I guess so. That's what they say on the streets.
Is that what they say? A lot of folks saying it.
Yeah. I guess at some point so many people say it's got to be true, right?
Well, it is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. It is what it is.
So going back to the leadership thing.
Sure.
And I don't want to overstep if this individual's supposed to be, if this is supposed to be that individual's topic later or anything. But the whole construction, whether it's criticism, ideas, people not being open to that, is that more of a personal thing, or do you think that has something to do with their leadership type? Are they an alpha male, won't let nobody, you know what I mean?
Do you think it's a pride thing?
Yes.
Like,
I don't know.
This is my corner of the world.
I think in some buddy departments that I think it is that way. It's this way, and they don't play well with others.
There's a lot of that. There's an absolute lot of that. That a lot of folks don't want to train together,
Yep.
let alone respond together.
It's
So-
my scene. It's not yours.
Yeah, heard that.
Where does it stop? Like, who are you here to serve? Like
Yourself.
These people that pay your fire taxes and stuff and expect a service, but then 2 streets over it's another district, but you don't want to go because you and Chief Bobby had a tussle over a girl 20 years ago.
Take it back to the local pool hall.
He wouldn't let me make the cut I wanted on that car.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'd have done it 10 seconds faster than him.
yeah.
What's 10 seconds?
Well,
Right.
I mean, depends if
Yeah.
10 seconds quick if you need it.
It is.
It's a terrible deal. I mean, but what do you do? How do we fix it? How do we bridge the gap? Like, for somebody listening out here who goes, holy shit, I'm going to be an officer, and I don't know about this whole voting officers in. I don't know if that works. Popularity contest, Chief. What are your experiences with that? You've been around a little while.
Most of the time on the volley side.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Voting is basically a popularity contest, and the citizen doesn't deserve a popularity vote when it comes to leading a firehouse, leading
Career
a
or volunteer?
career or volunteer.
Fair.
The people need to show that they're qualified. They
That's
need
just
to,
Eddie's stance, not Chief Eddie.
No, that's Eddie's stance. That's just
Sure.
the way
I'm just clarifying.
always seen it. Yeah, that's not the city stance. That's my
No, I mean, hey,
philosophy.
you're on your own time tonight, bud.
Oh yeah, enjoying a good.
I think also it just depends on what the root cause of the situation is. I get there's a difference, especially it doesn't matter what department you're at. You can be for the same department, but you're going to have the stations thinking they're better than other stations within the department.
Oh,
It's the
absolutely.
same thing with shift wars. It's in my opinion, it's healthy. Where everybody's alpha, whether you're male or female, you still want to be the best amongst the best. So some competitive is healthy, I would say. It helps the drive. It helps people want to train. It helps them want to perform at a higher noticeable level than the other companies. But I think you sometimes need to evaluate what is the reason behind the problem. Is there, like you said, Big John, somebody slept with somebody's old lady 20-something years ago, so we got a personal issue?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it every time this box gets a call, they're always canceling this other guy? They're always canceling this department coming in. Is there a reason why they're canceling them?
Terribly familiar.
Or
Or is
cancel
it
them and they still come.
correct? Is it the person just doesn't want to share the sandbox?
That's right.
Could they just be a selfish person? They want to save all the glory for themselves. I think that's one way you have to approach it. What seems to be the common denominator for the situation to be there,
Right.
and
All
go
right.
from there.
Let me ask you this. Here's something that just came up on Firehouse today. You probably haven't read this yet because we've been together, and I just pulled it up on the computer. I'm going to read you the headline. You tell me what you think. The appeal for a Louisiana firefighter terminated over mask refusal is denied. So his appeal was denied because he didn't want to wear a surgical mask.
Unconstitutional.
During the whole COVID storm, huh?
Well, I'm gonna read, but it says that the service board, the civil service, has upheld the termination for the firefighter not wearing a mask during a classroom event. So he was given repeated orders. They hit him with insubordination, and there was a stress and anxiety that probably should have been considered. That wasn't, and probably could have had a lesser punishment, but they went straight to termination over the deal. So I guess, the firefighters quoted as the mask became, he felt like they were wearing masks too much, and there were kids playing outside, getting vitamin D, and playing on playgrounds in the community. He also told them that he was refusing to wear a mask on religious and medical grounds without getting into specifics about medical or religious reasons. I'm going to dive in first. First off, if you say that that's your religion, then hey, that's your religion. Period. It's not my place to question it. It's not my place to say anything. If you've got a medical condition, it's not my place to question it. It's not my place to say anything. So, Big John, I'm going to come to you. Mm-hmm. What would you say about this incident?
Let's dig deeper. So if this was just a mask deal and nothing, this firefighter has not had any write-ups before, no disciplinary actions before that, and then this particular incident, they went straight to termination. They went by the book for insubordination, absolutely. But there could have been a lesser punishment for that. But was his first write up and they went that way, or was it I wouldn't say a problem child and they saw a way to get rid of the problem?
So it says here that at least 6 fire department officials attempted to reason with the man
Wow. Okay.
to de-escalate. Now I'm going to be honest with you. You bring me 6 dudes.
We're not de-escalating anything.
We are not de-escalating
no,
shit.
we have escalated the situation.
We have surrounded the problem.
Yes.
And we have poured gasoline on the fire.
Correct.
So we're talking about leadership, and I've never been to Lafayette, Louisiana. I don't know anybody in Lafayette, Louisiana, so I don't know nothing about it. I've only been in New Orleans and Baton Rouge and a few other small towns.
Bourbon Street.
Yeah. So
A stinky place.
Got good chicken.
I'll tell you what,
Good
Dragos,
oysters on the half shell too.
Dragos with the they've got some special sauce, but Dragos, you put them on the, oh golly, they're good. I guess this is one thing, you know, we're 2 years deep into COVID, which was only supposed to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and here we are 2 years later. This has become a hot button topic because a lot of people are saying, hey, we've been duped. I don't have a feeling one way or the other. I wear a mask if I have to. If it's part of my employment, then I wear it. But I also respect other people's rights. It may not be for me. Just like if they legalize marijuana tomorrow, I'm not going to be the guy smoking it. Now, if you want to get just stone-faced stoned, that's your business. I fully support your ability to do that within the confines of the law. The thing that I don't understand is that it seems like it's a government institution. If it's civil service, there is no law per se. It was a, quote, mandate, which is now everyone through science has said surgical masks don't work. N95s do, but they're hard to breathe in.
Yep.
They don't move a lot of air, which leads to hypoxia and headaches and things like that. So, you know, when you come out and you say, as a chief of department, I have 285 employees watching, and they see this individual be able to refuse order from their supervisor, is the order legit at that point? That's a tough road to hoe, and it just happened to pop up under Firehouse under the leadership column, which I thought was interesting. So I wanted to jump in on it and see if anybody else wanted to weigh in.
It's just one of those things. It's not. There's that broad spectrum in policies that you see, and it's, you know, any other job-related duties asked above you. You know, it gives you a general outline as far as what insubordination is, but does not specifically tell you what it is.
Right. It's kind of like porn. You'll know it when you see it.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. I like the porn.
You like the porn analogy.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yes.
Man, I like porn. But it's just one of those things. It's hard to follow. Like, what direction do you go? Is it worth the battle? Like, what are you proving by dismissing that fireman for that?
Well,
Are you using it as an example?
I mean, the last line of the article, written by the advocate in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, says, "In my quote, in my case as the chief, I have 285 employees watching this, and they're watching to see if this individual will just be able to refuse orders from their supervisor. We can't have that. If you can't do what we ask you to do in a normal environment, how are we going to expect you to do something when everything is falling apart?
So they made an example out of him.
So he is the example. I don't know if that gets upheld.
It wouldn't in a back alley, I can tell you that.
I truly look. It's a tough line.
I mean, they get
It
you.
is.
They get you with the.
Oh, they'll get you in conduct
unbecoming-
unbecoming.
exactly.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get if they want you, they got you.
Yep.
That's right.
It almost seems like this is a tough leadership role because it was it doesn't even say when the incident was. It stemmed from an August 10th incident. He was fired on August 27th.
So it took
So 17 days, and the Civil Service Board says we're done. Now, I don't get how we go August 27th. That was a year and a half past COVID, right? From the original February? Yeah.
Yep.
Year and a half. Everybody was over it. We're now not flying on airplanes with masks. We're traveling on buses without masks. And all of a sudden, COVID's not on the news anymore. Anybody noticed? Mm-hmm. Odd. We're now back on the Ukraine. We're back on different things, and it just makes no sense. But I kind of wanted to see your thoughts on this because I vehemently disagree with it. Absolutely disagree with it. I think that it is horrible. I also look at some other things on here. You know, John Salka, he was a chief of the 18th Battalion, the FDNY. I think he's been retired for, 10 years. Still writing articles, you know. How do we get younger guys to jump in this? How do we get younger guys? And I'm not saying that, how do we get guys to, how do I want to frame this? How do we get guys to step up and take the role and fill in these voids as these guys time out and age out? How do we get guys to step up, Chief? I mean, how are you going to get guys to make videos on PFDs and car seats?
I don't think we get them to step up. I don't mean to cut you off, Chief Eddie.
Yes,
But
Itty
I
bitty
think I think they'll step up on their own, or at least they damn well ought to. If they're looking to learn more and push themselves, they ought to stand up. You shouldn't have to. I mean, yeah, push your guys to do better, but if they, I mean, I think it's self-initiative, self-motivated. If you want it, get it.
Well, how do you break the stigma of getting in the door? You know, it is a tough. I don't know if you've ever been to. You have not been to FDIC.
No, sir.
It used to be years ago, if you taught at FDIC, they owned your IP, your intellectual property. You signed it away. That is a tough road to hoe, and is a very fine line for someone that teaches and goes out and educates that they then own your IP. That the Penwell Corporation, which owns fire engineering, would own your IP, your intellectual property. You know, and a lot of people want to protect their IP. I mean, we're protective of our IP.
Right.
We've worked hard on it. You've been through those peer reviews and peer sessions. It sucks.
Absolutely.
You know, we sent out a quote the other day for a class, and I told the chief I'd have it there in 20 minutes. And I thought, man, I'll get this done real quick. Didn't realize the time of the day. It was noontime. So, us being us, we carry insurance. A lot of instructors don't carry insurance. And so, when I sent off our quote, I sent out a certificate of insurance showing that they would be the insured on the certificate for the amount that we have. And he's like, I've never seen anybody do that. And I said, then you have a problem fundamentally. If you're hiring people to come into your agency and instruct your people and they don't have any insurance, that's terrible. That's poor business, one. Mm-hmm. But two, how committed are you to this if you won't even buy an insurance policy? I know firemen that carry insurance on them just in case something happens on the job.
Yep.
So they can't come back after you.
Me and the wife's been having that conversation.
It's tough because you own your own outside company as well. You do fire hose testing.
Fire hose testing,
Pump tests.
some pump testing, some ladder testing, ground ladders, things like that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we're realizing that there is a cost to doing business. but
Yeah.
It's
Insurance
It's a-
isn't cheap.
Yeah, but it's a necessary cost to protect our investments.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely right.
And if we're going to do it right, then that's part of doing it right.
Well, if you're going to do it right, then do it all the way or don't do it at all.
Exactly.
There's no reason to half-ass something. You know, if you're going to part your hair on one side, part it all the way. Don't just part it a little bit. You know, make it look right. I don't know. I wish I had hair to part, but age has caught up with me. Here's another headline I want to talk about. I love these headlines. And tonight we're just kind of talking about some things that are going on in the fire service. Texas volunteers locked out by the city. Santa Rosa Fire Departments have been locked out of their firehouse in a dispute with the city over who owns the property.
Wow.
You may read that one more time. They are locked out over a dispute of who owns the firehouse.
My question is, who's answering the calls?
So, I don't know. It says the city are at odds of who owns the property, leaving both groups in a lawsuit and a firehouse closed. The dispute says that there's an owner, that who owns the land, and accusations that the fire department leadership is not up to par. Shocking. What were we talking about tonight? Leadership, right?
Yep.
So the perceived actions of someone is that there's not up to par leadership, and so it seems almost retaliatory. The fire department contends that the land that the firehouse sits on was transferred to them in '83, not to the city, and the city staff disagrees, and that the current volunteers intend to start a new organization. They took action to try to get control over the equipment so we can have our new group of volunteers take over, and they wanted to interfere with the process, Santa Rosa city manager said. So they wanted to take the equipment. Now, first we were talking about the land. Now
Yep.
we're talking about equipment.
Something that they can actually use.
Yeah. So it says here that the current firefighters are locked out as the city continues to move forward to replace them with a new volunteer fire department. Other agencies are providing services with it in the interim until new services are up and running. I want to hear your thoughts.
That sounds like a damn logistical nightmare.
Everybody goes home with the homeowner.
Everybody but the homeowner.
1,040.
So they're replacing the fire department with a new one.
They're trying to, yes.
But it doesn't specify if the new one's going to be a new volunteer, new paid, part-time combination.
I don't know anything about the town. I'll dig a little deeper while y'all are talking.
Damn, that makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
But then again, it might be one of those situations where, you know, there's no paperwork to support it either way.
Yeah.
You know, who had the deed? Did the deed really get signed and transferred to the department leadership back in the 80s? When it did.
Or was it a buddy system?
Right. Or was it a deal that the city said, hey, you can build the building, we'll give you the land, and just been a good old handshake ever since.
Right.
It seems that they got something from SpaceX on March the 8th. The fire department did.
But I think the whole removing of the equipment, that probably may not have been the smart choice.
Yeah, but again, leadership.
Then you're working into the whole. I mean, I'm not a good worker of the law, but I would assume that if the city or the department bought it and you're trying to remove it from said property, isn't that some type of theft, possibly?
Who owns the apparatus? I mean, like if you talk about North Carolina, you know, a lot of fire departments that are not municipal are incorporated. So that begs the question, are the apparatus taxpayer funded? Even though you're in a legit corporation, they were derived from taxpayer funds. When you bought your firehouse, it was derived from taxpayer funds. So it begs, it's a sticky question. And I don't know if it's ever truly been settled, but it's something that begs an answer. I know of a fire department in West Virginia that it's career, well, it's a combination, but there are certain pieces of equipment owned by the city and certain pieces that are owned by the incorporation. And there's a firehouse that's owned by the corporation, and there's a firehouse owned by the city. And there is a constant shifting of who can, who can't, you know, type deal. Not in a bad way. I mean, they work seamlessly. To give you some, I'm going to say with a population of 2,873 in the 2010 census, that may have increased, 2,745 per the 2020 census. They may have gained a couple people from California because people exiting from COVID. But I don't even know where this place is. It's in Brownsville, so that's down by Houston, maybe. I don't know. But those people need some help. And how do you go with that? How do you take away? Oh, they're down by the border. They're way down by Mexico. They're south of Corpus Christi, like they're damn near Mexico. The biggest closest town to them is Monterrey, Mexico. If that tells you how deep Texas they are. So something isn't right there. There's something amiss. But I just can't imagine. First we talk about that there's a dispute over land, and now we're going to take the apparatus from them. Doesn't make sense. You ever seen anything like that, Chief?
I see it a lot around here where we have kind of our volunteer organizations in this area, they have been presented with some paperwork saying that if they dissolve how the funding is going, our volunteer fire departments are taxpayer funded. The county collects the taxes. They distribute it to those districts for those people. The county's trying to cover their assets, their responsibilities, and there's been some kickback because of some of the wording in the contract. Like the county can close the department down if they don't meet requirements.
Do you think there's anything wrong with that, or you can't talk about that? It's okay.
Eddie speaking, I say there's absolutely nothing wrong with that because there's been a lot of malfeasance in the past.
Nothing wrong with a little accountability.
Yeah, there needs to be accountability. Organizationally, they not our organization, but just looking at the whole county organization, there needs to be some modernization. There needs to be some additional accountability. The county should be required some accountability. There was kickback when the county started requiring the fire departments to turn in budgets.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I totally agree with it. Show
does it
me
say
where the
that-
money's going.
Well, it doesn't mean they have to follow it. They're just saying have a budget. Or are they saying you have to follow said budget?
You have to present a budget, and then I think they are now requiring an audit also.
Oh, mercy. Okay.
So
there is a level of
yeah,
of
there's
accountability.
supposed to be a level of accountability, but
I mean, do you blame them?
No.
How many fire chiefs in my county in which I reside, there was one, and he got busted for like over $200,000 that he embezzled.
Misallocation of
And
funds.
it happens on a yearly basis.
Ouch.
And like Chief Cox was saying, the accountability goes so much more than just requiring that they stay modern on training, making sure that they're, providing a service and equipment that is worthy of serving the community and doing good. You look at the public outlet opinion on the situation. There has been a few recent instances in this county that have drawn some significant outside attention based off of personnel's actions at fire departments within the county. And, not going too deep or truly understanding, but from what we've gathered, the county pretty much said, hey, if you don't do this, we're pulling your funding.
Well, I mean,
Because, look what you're bringing to the county, though. You're talking about firemen that were doing things that should not ever be done
sure.
and causing multiple social medias to come to this county, and it just everybody gets ruined in the process.
Yeah,
It's not just that individual that gets slandered or gets punished. It's the entire fire department and everybody within that entity. They're guilty by association just based off of that stupid decision that individual made.
but not just that department, the whole fire service.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Right.
We all get a black eye when somebody does an idiotic thing.
So I don't
Sure.
think there's nothing wrong with it as far as the audits, as far as budgeting turn-ins, and as far as making sure that your fire department is representing itself and within the county that it resides in a respectable manner.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with, having a discussion maybe with town hall, city hall, whatever you got to do. But to try to close down a firehouse or take away a
that's-
service,
That's bad.
I think that's a bad look. And what are you doing with a town manager in a town of 2,800?
Sounds like there's a lot of flexing going on and a lot of power plays.
It seems to me that a lot of people want to flex. That seems that a lot of people just want to show a little bit of muscle. You know, speaking of muscle, we would be remiss if we. Yeah, that's cool. Really? Use your brain. Speaking of muscle, some of the best tools that we have ever used. You know, I still have my original Halligan from Firehooks Unlimited. Carry it with me. Love that tool. Box 1971 is a proud authorized trainer and distributor for Firehooks Unlimited. We don't mark up the prices. We don't feel that we need to pay the middleman to have quality tools and equipment. And absolutely amazing tools that they have up there in Wall Township, New Jersey. Like I said, we're going to get with Captain Farrell. We are going to go about getting him on the podcast. And our tools work very well with Firehouse Innovations Corporation, the multi-force door. Mike Perrone, can't say enough good things about him. He's got over 1,900 doors in use right now in the fire service. He's put multiple doors out there for people to use. They're still using one FD&Y Wyatt rides around on the pickup truck. They're training firemen every day. If you're in the market for a forcible entry door, get to Firehouse Innovations Corporation. And some of the best tool lube you'll ever use is Old Pappies. Don't be a fool. Lube your tool. If you need any Old Pappies, Google Old Pappies. I think you can get it on Amazon. But that is some of the best tools. These are our partners that we work with on a consistent basis, and we are very happy to have them on board with us. So Big John did a little bit of looking while we were sitting here having a discussion. One thing we always talk about, I think both of you that have sat in our officer shit course can talk about, is OSHA. It's not
shit.
Yeah, oh, shit. So, headline from April the 11th. OSHA, Illinois City, is at fault in firefighter's death. Scroll down. First ever LODD. A floor collapsed on him in a home. He was found unresponsive. So, the OSHA documents, you can read about them. This is the... Hang on one quick second. Rock Falls Fire Department, you can do your own research on it. But basically, they were hit with a fine. The city of Sterling is hit for $24,000. Rock Falls is hit for a $12,000 fine. And that his wife says in a statement that losing Garrett has been the most heartbreaking, crushing, and pain. And then to find out that a multitude of mistakes caused his death added a layer of devastation. Every person in command and his partner failed him due to their gross negligence and complacency. My husband and father of my children was taken. And no one has accepted responsibility for their role in Garrett's death. Instead of owning their own failures, the city and the fire chiefs are contesting the facts of the Illinois Department of Labor in their investigation. Pretty powerful statement from a widow.
Yep.
So this comes back to that training that we talk about, 30,000 firemen going to FDIC and maybe only 10% going to a class and putting hands on and learning something from some of the best in the business. A lot of firefighters are promoted off of popularity.
Yep.
Flawed assessments.
Yep.
And because one of our favorite movies, Sling Blade, dots look good on paper. You don't sing them no how. A lot of people look real good on paper, but when it comes to working in an environment they don't have a clue. They are NCAA, like the athletic organization, no clue at all. Not saying that about these people, don't know anything about it. Just wanted to have a discussion about this because a lot of people don't understand that if something goes wrong, the sugar turns to shit, that OSHA's going to come in, they're going to want to see some training records, they're going to want to see the individual's gear, and the last thing they're going to want to look at is your policies.
Yep.
And if you don't have any of those to offer, boy, howdy, bust out the checkbook because daddy's going to the bank. At least that's my opinion.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on how we combat this and how we get people to not necessarily comply, but maybe up their game to avoid these types of situation?
You're referring to simply trying to keep up their training, things like that?
Well, there's a lot of folks that maybe take training. I'll give you an instance, and I'm not banging on them. A lot of folks like Target Solutions.
Yeah.
You know?
Use a lot of video to...
Yeah. Or YouTube.
Yeah.
Or read a magazine, and they call that training. I mean, I get it. Guy wants to, put down a half hour a week of training for reading a magazine. Man, I'm down with it. Cool.
Yeah.
You know?
If you're learning something, that's good, but your training program needs to be more than just Target Solutions, which, you know, we use Target Solutions during COVID, and it worked good to
Put a
get
Band-Aid
information out. Yeah, get information across and stuff like that. You know, ultimately, your training program, it should be multifaceted. You know, educational material, reading a magazine, great. Put some sweat equity into it.
Sure.
You know, those things that's going to be difficult on the fireground. Us being a small department, we know we're not going to have a lot of manpower, especially right now with some shortages that we're trying to fill. Boy, something changed. But, you know, we've got to be able to do more with less, and that's what one of today's things was about. You know, I'm a big boy. I went down in the trench. They had to get me out. I went down in the trench to get someone else out. I've never done the dance drill before. It was good for me.
Right.
Never done it.
Never done it. I've read magazines, but that's why I went and put my gear on. You know, times I've forced doors and stuff. But I wanted to, all right, I need to get in here and see what this is. And then they had the pleasure of getting my big 280-pound butt out of that 8-foot hole.
Sure.
Now, see, that's where you go back to the self-motivation, the want to. Just, you're the chief of training. You could have just stood back and watched the guys. But, hey, I've never done this. I want to experience it.
Yeah.
Self-motivate. Hey, and you did it.
Yeah.
That's. I don't see why it's so hard for folks. But I guess, you know, when you do have the mentality of I'm just there for a paycheck or whatever, you know, be there for the job.
So I wanted to see what it was like. You know, I'm an instructor. I've forced doors. As watching you guys, I've learned some things about forcing doors that I didn't know before. I was doing some bad techniques. I've tried to correct them.
Well, that's good. But, you know, the thing is you'll sit here and whoever's listening to this will say, hey, I have a hole in my game.
Yeah.
It's just like Tiger Woods. Best golfer probably ever to walk the planet.
True.
Besides Jack Nicklaus.
I
Or
agree.
maybe Arnold Palmer or some of the other greats, right? Ben Hogan. But
Lee Trevino.
Tiger will tell you that I have a hole in my swing. He will say, I have a hole in my swing. I've got to fix this. A lot of firemen will not accept that and say, hey, this is my weakness. I need to fix it.
Right.
And they, you know, I come back to the young boy at the convention that we were at, and I said, hey, man, here's a $150 pair of gloves. Can you force the door? And he's like, I can't do it. Pristine environment. Very well lit. No gear. The only thing he had to wear was helmet, gloves, and goggles. Well, not goggles, but glasses. And couldn't force the door. I mean, there could have been $1 million on the other side of the door. He didn't know what was on the other side of the door, but he couldn't do it.
No.
This guy was an instructor. That's scary.
Yeah.
Right? And it is what it is. I was just reading, because it interested me, about this young lieutenant who died way, way, way too young. He started his career, and then it seems like he was a legacy fireman, but he fell through a floor. What did we drill on today?
That's exactly what we drilled on.
Yeah. You know, now there may have been mitigating circumstances. Again, none of us were there, but losing any fireman is tough. I can't imagine, you know, what that's done to the psyche of the responders, their surrounding areas, because it's like a percussion effect. It goes out and away, right? But I just, your heart goes out to people because you don't know what the circumstances were, you know, and whew, I feel absolutely terrible for them. It guts you.
Well, going back to the whole OSHA thing,
Sure.
I feel like it's one of those things, and it's nothing against OSHA, but let's be honest, their standards are pretty lengthy, and unless you've been in an area or know of a department that's had an incident where OSHA was involved, I was involved in one back in 2016.
Can you talk about it?
It wasn't a line of duty death or anything. We just a woods fire that went south and still inconclusive. The investigation came back inconclusive as to if there was accelerants in the building or if it was a backdraft or a smoke explosion, whatever the case may be. We just got dispatched to a woods fire. Upon arrival, we noticed that somebody had been there a week or two prior. None of us that were on shift that day had been there, so we weren't aware that it had been that recent. Noticed that there was a plow line around the woods, and when we were doing our size up, we noticed that there was about a 12 by 12 building. The fire had went under the building and came into it.
So for firefighters that don't understand, a plow line is where a dozer goes in and cuts a line. They're called a plow or a tractor.
Yeah, forestry. North
Yeah.
Carolina forestry came in and
Well, not a lot of people understand it. They might be
yeah,
in a
so
city somewhere.
it's just an asset that we have. We call them in, and instead of trying to drive where you can't get trucks in, you can't get hand lines in, they bring this massive D10, D12 dozer in and just plow a line around it, make it safe, let it burn, back burn it, do whatever they got to do. So as we were assessing the situation, we noticed that there was like a little 12 by 12 storage building that the fire had went underneath and got inside. One of the little windows broke loose, and I mean, it was just turbulent, pushing black, thick smoke going straight out the window, straight to the ground. We decided to force entry on the door, and when the individual went to force the door, as soon as he struck the handle, his tool did not make it to the ground before this door just woof, there it went. Out came this fireball, wrapped me and the chief up, and took us both out. Chief had third-degree burns to his forearms. I had first and second-degree burns to my face, sides of my head, things like that. So we had never had something like that in the area in which I was working. So when OSHA came in, they were very helpful. We did receive some fines, but we received a lot of breaks on stuff because, one, it was our first offense. Second of all, we were not repetitive offenders of anything. And it was just one of those things that you don't know a whole lot about it unless, A, you work for them, or B, you've been involved in an accident that requires them to come in. But I will say our experience with them really wasn't all that bad. They did exactly what you said. You know, we had to, as soon as we came back, we bagged everything up because somebody had said, hey, they're going to come in, so get this stuff ready. So we went ahead and pulled gear that we were wearing that day on the call, uniforms included. As soon as we got to the hospitals, we got evaluated. We had to bag up our uniforms that day along with our gear. They came in and asked about SOPs, SOGs for structural, whether it was defensive or offensive. You know, these were the parameters they were looking for. We learned a lot from that, knowing what we didn't have in place, knowing what we needed to have in place. And it's just one of those things, you don't want to meet them at that point in time, but unless you've just known about it or heard about it or read NIOSH reports or anything of that nature, you really just don't know much about what they do, what they're looking for, you know. So
They didn't even give you any credit in this. They just said that your chief was
yeah, he was
second and third degree burns to his arms as well as his face and singed hair.
yeah. Well, that's because he was the only one that went to Chapel Hill.
Yeah. And you're right. It was just a little bitty shed. Just a little bitty shed. I mean, there wasn't much to it.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah, there's not much to it. It's there. You've got typical household goods inside this shed.
Well, see, the backstory was that house burned a year or two before, and they moved everything that they had in the house into that building that was salvageable. So they don't know if they found puncture marks in the roof inside, but they didn't find any melted containers. They didn't find no propane tanks, gas tanks, nothing like that. So it was really just inconclusive as to what happened. All we know is, like I said, when he struck that door and before you could hear the tool hit the ground, I woke up on the ground. It was just that fast. Everybody said it was a 30-foot fireball, solid stream. They said it when it hit me and deflected me, it went around me, and when it came back to itself, that's where the chief was, and he got the worst of it.
Sure.
The only thing I had on was I had my gear on, and I had my helmet on, and I had my Nomex on because, you know, it was a woods fire. I was wearing on the brush truck. We didn't have air packs coming to us, so.
Well, if it was a building that you were going to, was it a woods fire?
It got dispatched as a woods fire.
I
Was
get
the
that.
original.
But I just want to make sure for people understanding that you were at a building, you had your structural gear on.
Yeah, of course, yeah. You know, we responded with our bunker pants on because we don't have wildland gear.
Sure.
So we had our structural pants on, boots, all that. And at the time, our SOP said that you had to have a helmet just because of trees and fallen objects potentially,
Sure.
and then, you know, structural boots and pants. And when we noticed that the building was on fire, we knew that we didn't have air packs at the time, but we had already upgraded the alarm. Units were coming, so we did what we could with what we had, fought it from a distance with booster reels until the other lines got
Like
there.
old Bette Midler from a distance.
Yep, just trying to play it safe, and it
That's a
ended
deep
up
cut.
not working.
That's a deep cut.
But it was just a freak accident.
So we are coming up on halfway of the year, and we have 44 firefighter fatalities in 2022 so far, looking at the live website from the United States Fire Administration. On average, we kill about 100 firemen a year. So why is that number, why is it staying constant, Chief? What is the, I think a lot of it has to do maybe with cancer. I think a lot of it has to maybe do with cardiovascular. So how do we combat this? And I'm going to call it an epidemic because it's gone unchecked. We haven't lowered. We're still making the same mistakes that we made years ago. We're not wearing seat belts. We're doing silly stuff. People that probably shouldn't be driving apparatus are driving apparatus. How are we going to combat this in the future? What are we going to do as a service to go forward? And I'm not talking the culture change. I sat down with Chief Lovett. You'll hear that podcast. It's pretty funny. I asked him. He went to D.C. and I said, how come there's 26 rules on how to be a good fireman? You guys post them in the bathrooms, but there's only 10 rules to get to heaven. I've got to follow 26 rules to be a good fireman, but it only takes me 10 to get to heaven. And you'll hear that podcast. It's hilarious because I just asked him point blank. You know, you're with these people that are making these rules and decisions. Tell me, how do we get there? So maybe in your own words, can you kind of paint me how we're going to go? I mean, what can we do? What can we do as a job?
We as the fire service start off with we need to educate our local government. We need to educate our citizens on what we provide. I believe a lot of times local government is the fire department. They've got everything handled. We all have always done more with less. The only way we're going to combat it is, number one, check ourselves. We've got to realize sometimes we just got to let a building burn.
Shot in the head.
Yeah.
't said that before.
We've got to start, I mean...
And we're not saying, let's quantify this before.
Not saying
Don't go in.
don't go in, but if there's
No life safety.
no life safety, if we can stabilize the instant and we don't have the resources to put out the fire, we protect the neighborhood, let it burn. Try to put it out, but not make an offensive interior attack.
Protect all exposures.
This
Protect
almost,
exposures
you guys
first.
remember the movie Burn?
Yes, Detroit.
The fire chief, what was his name? Donald Austin. He did his thing, and he said they were going to let vacant buildings burn.
Yeah.
That was very unpopular. It's very, very difficult to get guys to buy in on, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's tough
That's
now.
not our nature.
Yeah, so it's very difficult to get guys to buy in on that, I think.
Right.
I don't know. I'd have a hard time buying in on it.
I believe I will as well.
So, but I get what you're saying.
But we've also got to start calling bullshit on some of our own actions. You know, that's part of that checking ourselves.
But these guys, listen, this job doesn't want to check themselves. You know that.
Well, we've got to start.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's unpopular. You know, it's very unpopular. It makes a lot of sense, but you know they come out with the courage to be safe. And again, we're not knocking anybody for what they're doing. We think it's great and it's noble that people are trying to make a difference. I applaud people trying to make a difference. The only thing I'm saying is it realistic? Remember when they came out with the SMART objective for your goals? You know,
Yeah.
was it time sensitive? Was it reasonable? You know,
Is it safe?
yeah. Like you started
Measurable.
you start coming up with all these things. Well, time sensitive. Who defines the time? That's the first thing. Second thing is what's your goal? You know, what is the end goal? This is not a safe job.
Right.
It says so on any fire helmet in this firehouse. Just look on the inside sticker. It says it's inherently dangerous.
Yep.
It's on the inside of your hat. It's on all over your costume that you wear, your fireman costume. It's all over it. So I think you know, Ray McCormick said it best, too much safety makes Johnny a poor rescuer and a bad fireman. Mm-hmm. This job is dangerous. It's dirty, demanding, and dangerous, the way it will always be. I think that's exactly what he said. Mm-hmm. How do we get... There's a calculated risk, maybe a measurable risk. The risk a lot to save a lot, risk a little to save a little, risk nothing to save something that's already gone. I don't think that's a bad moniker. I don't think it's a bad moniker at all. But where do you draw the line?
When we start going against what we know is wrong. This is a very popular opinion. The house is not structurally safe. It's an abandoned house. Some will say you still got to search it because there could be squatters. But it is not a good building to be in. But you got some will say we still have to search it. Some will say, you know what, they shouldn't have been there. We're going to be safe.
That's not our job, though, to judge, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the way it's conceived is sometimes, what if there was that body in there? You go defensive. You don't dump a whole lot of stuff into it, but you protect everything around it. You do what you're trained to do, and there ends up being a body in when you go and do salvage and overhaul when it's to the ground.
Right.
That's, in my opinion, that's where that line has been blurred. You know what's right, you know what's wrong. That's not a calculated risk.
No, it's not.
It is a calculated risk, but it's not in our favor.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
It's not a public. It's not going to be perceived in the public well.
No, not at all.
But when we don't roll out of here with 4 people on every piece of apparatus, and we're not staffing the firehouses the way they should be, and I'm not talking about any particular city.
You're already behind the ball.
You're already behind the ball
before you even get there.
And we do that in our smoke and fire behavior class. We sit down and we let them pick their times, and we show them how drastically far behind the 8 ball we are when a responsible party, and I use that word very, very like black and white, a responsible party calls in a fire. Folks don't understand that, when communications gets the call and then there's a delay in that, and then there's a delay in us getting out the door, then there's a 5-minute, 7-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute drive sometimes.
What took you so long?
What took us so long to get there? It's a tough road to hoe. It's a very tough road to hoe. So I don't know how we get there. I'm just looking for solutions, something to throw against the wall to try to maybe make it a little better.
Well, I was in Charleston not too long ago for my wife's birthday, and they actually, now I can't tell you if they actually abide by it, but there are fire signs that they have placed on buildings that are vacant.
Yep.
And it says danger to structural integrities, compromise, whatever.
Yep.
Do not entry order.
Yep.
And it is for the fire department.
Yep.
Specifically
Red X.
placard on the buildings. Yeah.
Yep. They've also got safe response after the Sofa Superstore
Yes.
fire. So
do they abide by it? Don't know.
Yes,
but
they do.
It's not something that you see often.
So I've been talking with Anthony Morley, who is now a newly promoted battalion chief in the city of Charleston, and he and I are very good friends. He was captain of the rescue, and so he and I have talked a lot. They abide by that. Dan Curia, who we worked with in Durham County, he was a city Durham fire chief. He's now the chief of department down there, and I guess he's doing some things that are maybe positive that he couldn't get done in Durham, but he's getting them done down there and affecting change. So
good on him.
Better for him. I mean, I'm sure he's liking living at the coast for sure.
I mean, they got beautiful trucks.
They do. They spend a lot of money.
Beautiful trucks. They
Historic.
got a bendy truck. It was nice. The
They
historic.
got a lot of stuff.
I know the historic part of Charleston was really nice, very beautiful. It was very nice to to witness it. Market Street, things like that. But
Yeah.
it was just something that caught my eye.
Yeah.
We get emails from our fire inspectors to let us know, hey, this building is a do not enter. We're working with them on the floor. This is a danger. This is going to be this. If you go here, it's going to be defensive. All right, well, what if emails don't get read? What if emails don't go through?
I deleted 4 work emails today and never even read them.
So-
But they had nothing important, at least in the
Right.
headline. But
So,
again, I'm
that's
guilty.
something that I thought was very unique. I've heard about them, never seen them.
Sure. I will tell you that their safe operations, one of the key takeaways that Dr. Griffin talks about, who we're trying to line up a schedule with to get him on, he's an amazing individual to sit and talk with. But to sit down and talk with him and to hear his story about how that day went for him is absolutely phenomenal. And what they have done as a city to come back from what they were and what happened,
That's tough.
it's tough.
That's
And a lot of guys are, I talked with a buddy of mine who just moved back from Arizona for family reasons, but he is retired out of Columbia. He said a lot of guys are leaving Columbia to go to Charleston because of their culture change. Yep. So good on them for making the turn, but that's a good catch. The red X's and do not enter. You see that a lot at the beach. Buildings that they just don't want you to go in. There's nothing in there for you. So, it's definitely an ever-changing job. So we're sitting down with young Lieutenant Channing Horton.
This is true.
Very
Nice.
true. Channing,
Nice
how
name.
are you, friend?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Buddy, if I was any better, I'd be twins. How's Madison doing?
She's doing very good.
Very good.
She's
Yes,
same.
busy as always.
Yeah. How's
That's a good thing though. We're
how's-
always rolling and
Sure. So how's
Keeping up
life in
to date on
Bladenboro?
things.
How's life in Bladenboro?
blame her.
I hear you.
No,
You got to give
it's
that
slow,
shout out
man.
for my man Coleman. He
Very
loves.
slow.
It's very slow. So we struck up a conversation today after training, right before supper that we were talking about. So I kind of wanted to get that moment captured, if you will. So run us through what you were talking about. Well, first off, before we go there, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm from Bladenboro, North Carolina, small town.
Yep.
Joined the volunteer fire department when I was 16, going on 17. So that was end of 2013.
Okay.
So my first full year, I was still a junior.
Sure. How old are you now?
I am 25. Just
25?
turned 25 in April.
And you've been a boss for what, a year?
Over a year now. May 7th.
Your
was
mustache
my
is coming
year
in.
mark.
I remember the last time we saw each other, you actually went and shaved it because it looked so weak.
I did. I'm trying to.
I shamed you really good. Do you remember that?
Very good first impression.
I got you. good.
I'll never forget it.
But we've become friends since. Big John, you remember that day?
I do.
We made him shave his mustache. Poor kid.
It was a
I
good
believe
time.
he was late too, wasn't
He was late.
Yes, my God. Everybody sitting in that class, it was like, these aren't the guys to do it. These aren't the guys to do it.
Oh, I found out. I found out for sure. Yeah.
We are who we say we
I'm
are.
going to be honest with you. The two of us on this side of the table are in the fuck around and find out business.
Oh, I found out that day.
Faux show.
Front seat in
we
that
we
class.
are just as comfortable in the bad part of town in a back dark alley as we are not really in City Hall. But we'll skip to the chief's office if we have to. I don't even care no more.
Sometimes I've called myself in.
Yeah,
That's definitely one of those days I found out.
yeah. So let's so tell us about you, Bladenboro. Are you an officer there? Are you running
I'm
there?
not just a volunteer.
That's fair.
We're a 45 member department. Real active.
Yeah,
I learn from the best, I feel like.
Sure.
Put the fire out from the inside out.
sure,
I've learned a
Nothing wrong
lot
with
over my 9 years.
sure. You've
A lot
learned
of good
some
experiences. Yes, I've
stuff. Well, you're 25 now. You can save money on your rental on your car insurance. That's good.
switching to Geico.
Yeah, I mean, like you can actually rent a car and it won't cost you as much.
Rent a hotel room at the beach.
Yeah, I mean, good for you.
Yeah, never.
Given your money, you should probably just buy one. You know, I mean, you got all the money in the world, bud.
Touchy subject. Nah.
Touchy subject. You trying to buy one?
Nah.
All right.
I think I'm good with a little double wide, the Blaine County Dream.
There's nothing wrong with
I just
that.
ain't got a Duramax. I haven't got there to Coleman yet.
Well,
Coleman's living the Blaine County Dream.
Wow.
You know what?
You know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm halfway there, man.
Hey, you know what? You got 25 more years to get there. So there's nothing wrong with
Started
that.
young.
So talk to us about what you wanted to jump in on. We were talking
I wouldn't
about.
say this is a bad thing. Nothing major. Over the last couple, I would say year since I've been promoted, we're a very young department here at Lomerton. Felt like people look down on the younger generation. I'm not saying it's bad thing. Maybe they've had a bad experience. But I feel like I get a lot of flack. But you know what? I'm here to prove myself. I'm here to do a job. That's what I was hired to do.
I don't know if you necessarily always have to go around proving yourself, Channing. It's tough promoting young. That's
It
the
is,
first thing.
Yes, I found that out the first day, actually.
Well, I mean, but here's the deal. Are you better for it?
I am, yeah. Definitely.
Has it made you a better boss?
Definitely.
Do you look at
yes.
things from a different perspective?
You have to when you're in that position to make those big decisions that seasoned, older people have to make. I'm having to manage people that were sometimes twice my age, 10, 15 years older than me.
Sure. And how does
So,
that work out with the? How does that work out? Does it lead to conversations, or is it just this is the way we're going to do it? We can talk about it later on the tailboard.
It depends on what kind of leader you are. It depends on how the situation unfolds, who you have to be in that situation. You are the boss.
At the end of the day, you're the guy.
Yes,
You're the
you
man.
have to deal with those difficult situations. You have to, if it calls for it, you have to put your foot down. I feel like you have to. I'm not saying establish dominance because that's not the correct term.
Well, I
but-
mean, everybody comes in sniffing everybody's ass. Let's agree with that.
yeah,
Everybody always wants to know the hierarchy, the pecking order,
yep.
right?
You got to poop with the door open. You got to establish dominance
No,
early.
you go to the urinal and you drop your pants and your underwear to your ankles and you take a piss.
Only when
Oh,
you're
okay.
at Epcot in France.
Okay.
I do it here.
Wilmington, North Carolina.
I mean, there is one of those guys everywhere. You know, Channing, it's interesting to hear you say that because I'm going to say something that might be borderline offensive.
Go for it.
Shocking.
Yeah.
I'm not a big proponent of guys promoting young.
Yes.
That's Jeremy.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's why. I don't know if everyone has the life skills, the life experience. You're young. You just recently got married.
Yeah.
So you are still in that maybe honeymoon phase. You haven't dealt with a divorce. You may know somebody that went through a divorce. You may know somebody that's had struggles and strife in life.
Yeah.
It's difficult. But you were the one that raised your hand. Now, flip that same quarter over on the other side of that coin. I think it's terrible when people stay too long. I absolutely, when you tell me that you're a 30-year fire chief and you've done nothing to prepare the people around you or bettered yourself for training, I think you have done a disservice to not only the members, I think you have done a disservice to the public. So it's a fine edge to walk.
Hell, and itself.
Say it again.
And itself.
Yeah, you've done a disservice because you've done nothing. You know, if you've been around, and I'll let's just say 20 years. 30 years is, I always pick on 30 years because that's when guys retire. Or unless some people get lucky and get 20. Right? Or you're halfway, yeah. I was going to say 20, you get to go, right? So, not no more. You got to work 30 now. But if you got in old, you know, and you're old now, you could have got in with 20, and you'd have been okay. But a lot of people want to stay because, one, they like the power. Two, they like being seen, and they like that political posturing, perhaps, maybe. Is that a good way to say it? They want to be in their position. I don't think there's anything wrong with riding the back seat. I don't. Matter of fact, I love the back seat. You know why? I don't do paperwork.
It's the greatest job.
It is. Everybody says driving's the greatest job. Bullshit.
Nope.
Because you know what that means when the boss is out?
You got to slide over and be in charge.
Slide over. Mm-mm.
And I was like, that paperwork's yours at that point.
That paperwork is yours, and you got to run the shift. No, thank you. No, thank you. You know, it's not a fun thing. So, how do you combat that? Let's talk about you personally. How do you go about that for listening to young officers that are listening to this, or people aspiring to be more than what they currently are? How do you, as a person, handle those? If you had to handle me working for you on your truck today.
I feel like I run a tight crew. I want my crew to be a reflection of who I am in that seat.
Sure.
We're going to a call, regardless if you're just signed off or you've been
What do you mean by signed off?
fresh. You've recently promoted to the driver operator position. You run the truck. You operate the truck, pump the lines, get tools,
Okay.
things like that.
I didn't know if you meant like signed off like a probationary packet or.
No, as far as driver operator, we're just
Okay.
talking about that seat right now.
Okay, I'm with you.
No matter if you've been here 15 years or it's your first day driving. If we're going to a job, regardless if it's a car wreck, fire, anything, in my head, I'm going to take that guy this first day, and hey, when we get there, I'm gonna need lines pulled. I want you to pull my line, charge my line, get my water source, so me and my backseat fireman can go in. I'm updating my whole crew on the way there.
Sure. Talk
And
about
if it has been my driver who has been with me for a year or so,
right.
we're telling the backseat man, hey, this is what you need to expect when we get there.
That should be done day one.
Yes.
This is what I
Expectations.
expect.
Yeah,
And if he knows
I
his
agree.
job, he knows what to do. Maybe not in the order or way that you want him to do it because he's new to you.
Yeah.
You're his new boss, but he should. If he has promoted, he has already seen from the back seat what is expected.
Yeah.
He should know. The driver should be showing him his job in case he's out. The officer should be showing the driver job.
Yeah.
But sometimes it don't work that way.
So let's take this out of the apparatus.
Okay.
Shift changes at 8.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the older guy comes in. He's your fireman for the day. He floats in on your shift to work your third seat. How do you set the tone before we even go on a call?
I mean, I'm gonna ask him, hey, how you doing today? What'd you do this weekend? Catch up with him if I haven't seen him in a while.
Sure.
Kind of set the pace for the day. I feel like that's the officer's job.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't even have to happen. If you have that guy that just comes in and just does it.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I remember getting yelled at for scrubbing toilets first thing in the morning. Like, literally got called to the chief's office, was like, hey, you can't be doing that. And I'm like, I was told this is what I was supposed to do. Now we do that together. Okay, well, I mean, if I did something, then I did something. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. Some people want to stifle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They want to stifle people to maybe establish their level of, like I said, dogs sniffing each other's asses. They want to have that level of hierarchy, right?
They got a bigger packer?
Yeah, you want to see my beak? It becomes very difficult to manage that, and especially as a young person. So how do you handle that guy that maybe doesn't like the way you're doing it? I mean, let's just say that. Like, let's say today we were training, right? You were doing the Nance drill,
Yes.
and you're saying, hey, we've only got 3 people to pull this 300-pound guy up. How are you going to handle that when the fireman who professes to have 25 years of experience doesn't have the ability to lead, hasn't tried to promote, or so on and so forth, but doesn't necessarily have your full trust either? How are you going to handle that in the moment, and then how are you going to handle it when you get back to the office?
Well, you have to, talk to him, get to the bottom of it, see his side, because there's always...
On the scene?
On the scene?
Yeah, we're talking like you're actually doing the rescue.
Well, you have to step up at that point and be like, hey, this is my job. I'm telling you your job and what I want you to do.
Right.
That's why I was promoted.
It's
and
tough to
that's
have
what
that.
my spot is. I'm
It's tough.
to get the job done.
It's tough to have that conversation. It sucks
Yeah.
because it's not fun. Nobody wants to have that conversation.
And then of course you've got the decision making part of it. You know, you're questioning yourself. Did I make the right decision? Because he's definitely going to question you.
Yeah.
You know, so
What does it do to the backside, though? What does it do to those around you
It
that are
makes them pay
looking
attention to see if what they can get by with, if they can push,
like our chief in Louisiana?
if they can push that envelope. How much can I get away with this young guy?
that's right.
How much can I push him to prove that he's not at the level he needs to be at? Or I've been here 25 years, you've only been doing it 9 years.
I will give you a little piece of advice. Don't ever say, I'm the boss. If you have to remind people that you're the boss,
You're not the boss.
you're not the boss. And if you have to say, because that's how I want it done, you're not the boss. If you simply just tell them that's the way it is, we could talk about it later, but right now this is the decision, that's what you go with.
Yeah.
Because you will get people and you know who the offenders are. You're not dumb by any means,
Yeah.
other than you're late when you show up to things. But we'll work past those things. You're young. You don't have an alarm clock. I get it. But when you do not assert yourself, and I'm not saying establish, I'm saying assert your role, it becomes very tough to you put yourself behind the 8 ball. I remember working for a certain lieutenant that sat me down and was a good friend, a very good friend. Sat me down and told me his expectations the first time I ever worked with him. And that was the end of it. Okay, those were the expectations. And we went to work. It was a very frank, very candid conversation at the kitchen table. Not across the desk, at the kitchen table. As I think that is the great equalizer.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why, you look at this table that Curtis built.
Beautiful, by
This
the
is
way.
Very nice.
It's too expensive a table. The price of wood's higher than giraffe pussy right now. But we have this new table, and we love it. But we wanted that kitchen table feel.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That was the purpose of building this, was not to, flex on anybody. It was more to have that feel, because it feels like a kitchen table. It doesn't feel like it's, other than it's got microphones and a bunch of electronic shit on it. It feels like a kitchen table. We're smoking, we're having fun. But when you have to tell someone you're the boss, and you have to say, this is my way, you've lost the battle. You don't even, and they say you can have their respect if you be their friend. I don't need to be your friend to respect you. Matter of fact, I don't know why we spend so much time trying to be liked by everybody, Channing. Because I don't like everybody. Not everybody's cup of tea. But let me ask you this, just point blank. We've known each other for a little over a year, right?
Yeah.
Who do you want coming for you at 3 a.m?
Oh, definitely the guy who's
Would you
to
rather
the point. He knows his shit.
Would you rather
and
have
he's
me
coming for it.
or the guy that? Would you rather have me, Big John, Curtis, Captain Jacobs, Chief Eddie? Would you rather have those guys coming at you, or the guys that decided that they would go and schedule a cornhole tournament so they couldn't come to training?
Well, definitely the guys who put in that sweat equity who's been here.
It's rough, right? I want to be around like-minded individuals. I don't care if you're Democrat, Independent, Republican, non-binary, transgender. What are the other things that are hot button topics right now? Inclusive, whatever.
Them or they.
Well, what is it? LGBTQ plus?
The
Is that the appropriate? I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to make anybody mad and get a bunch of hate mail, but I think it's LGBTQ plus.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Do your job. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't care what you do, how you identify. I don't care. You're
On
fired.
the scene, you're a fucking fireman.
Yeah.
And do fireman shit.
I mean, you look at Jessica. She doesn't say a word. She wants to be a fireman. She doesn't care about the BS. She wants to be part of the job.
She wants to do the greatest
But
job
it
in the
all,
world.
but it all comes down to your crew. My guys know that if we come back from a call, now some will say it's not right, but my crew knows if I start hollering and I throw some F-bombs, we got a bad situation. And there's guys in this room that can attest to that. But they know. We've worked together. We've put in that time. We know each other personally. We know our traits. We know how we act.
Right.
So I can be in there dropping F-bombs, talking to them, and everything's good. But they know if I raise my voice and I'm dropping F-bombs, we got a big problem. And they know they messed up. And they're going to work twice as hard to fix it. And that's what I like about it. But also they know on a call, if they can't give me what I expect, they're going to get told to go sit out.
Go to the tailboard.
That's where they're going to go.
That's the worst place in the world.
Because I need the guys or the girls. I need the crew that knows their job and knows how to damn do it the right way the first time.
Right.
And they understand that.
Well, seconds matter.
So I've not had to place anybody in timeout per se, but they also know that they're allowed to offer suggestions when more or less cut jobs. Let's be honest, there's more than one way to skin a cat. When you're dealing with cut jobs, pin jobs, whatever the case may be, there's so many other variables to be looking at. Whereas You look at a house fire, yeah, you've got the structural integrity you got to worry about, smoke conditions, search, fire, rescue, all that stuff. But realistically, if the IC is doing his job, he's the one making sure the outside is being visible at all times, looking for those changes. You don't always have that when you're cutting on a car. So you always want your guys to know the difference of when's a good time to say, hey, Cap, when we made this cut, we started rolling this dash, it started pushing on the patient's leg. We need to stop and reevaluate. That's cool. I'm game for that. But if we pull up to a house fire and I tell you to pull 2.5 off the tank and you look at me and ask if I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure you're going to go sit on the truck. I'm sure that I'm going to tell the ladder truck to send me a guy so we can go in.
That's a fair point.
But I've never had that issue. So, sometimes if you don't have that communication with your crew, whether you sit down and let them know your expectations, you have to work with them. You have to physically put hands with them so they know, hey, my cap's left-handed. So I know when we go to the door, I need to stand on this side. My cap is this type of fireman. So I know if I see a big fire, he might potentially tell me I'm going to need to pull the 2.5. I need to be on my A game. That's where not just knowing your crew personally, knowing their strengths and weaknesses, putting in the time to truly understand what they can do makes or breaks the engine company or the ladder truck or truck company,
Sure.
whichever way you want to see it.
Well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're all firemen, right? And fireman tasks have to be completed.
But everything's a reflection of you.
That's
like
right.
Like Lieutenant Channon said
Because
earlier.
who's going to come to you? The
Right.
battalion chief's going to come to you and say, your crew,
What happened?
Your crew fucked up.
Yep, what happened? They don't care what the reasoning is. They just know that they fucked up, you fucked up. It's a bad day.
Yeah, we got to fix it. How do we keep this from happening again?
Right.
Have you had that conversation yet, Channing?
Yes.
It sucks, doesn't
It
it?
rolls. They say what shit rolls downhill.
Yeah, you know what those are on their collars, right? They're plungers. They're not. Let's talk about something real quick because you're young. Okay. Repeat after me. Bugles are for Boy Scouts.
Bugles are for Boy Scouts.
Okay. We're not in the Boy Scout business, are we?
No,
Not today, not ever.
never.
Okay. Those are trumpets. They're speaking trumpets. Do you know why?
Because back in the day, the chief would yell through his bugle to
His what? His what? His trumpet.
plunger.
His trumpet. His trumpet. His speaking
His trumpet.
Say it again. Bugles are for Boy Scouts.
Bugles are for Boy Scouts.
All right, go ahead. Finish up your statement.
He would announce what he wanted done when he got to the fire scene.
Okay. So, when you have more trumpets, you're the man, right?
Yeah.
So today, you were the man.
Yeah.
Okay? You're the man. End of story. One trumpet, you're the man.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So you're the man. But a lot of folks don't understand that history of where that comes from. They're not bugles. We're not playing reveille. We're not blowing taps like the military. They are speaking trumpets. So when someone says that, you need to, hey, no. You need to educate them.
Trumpets. not
Trumpets. Speaking
bugles.
trumpets, not bugles. We're not in the Boy Scouts. We're not blowing reveille. Fair?
Oh, fair enough, yeah.
All right. So
I like history lessons from you.
I
They're rewarding and punishing just based off the sound of your voice. I want to learn this.
I think I want to learn. Hey, speaking of which, I can't tell you enough, Curtis. Thank you for putting together this table. This is phenomenal. It looks absolutely exquisite. We'll post some pictures on social media and let folks see it. But with all of your hard work, the decals on there, all of our decals that we hand out at classes all come from Thompson Multimedia. Shooter up there in West Virginia does an amazing job. He does a lot of cool stuff, wraps. What are those things called that you ride, Big John?
Yeah, side by side.
Oh, boogies.
Buggies.
Yeah, everybody's got a boogie, right? We can't say enough good things about the folks at Akron Brass for keeping us in good flow meters and some nozzles. Seek thermal imagers, it seems like my wife uses a Seek a lot for her honeybee operation when they go and cut out swarms and such.
Hey.
They work.
She loves the portability of it. It's small. You can charge it in the car. You don't have to have a special charger. It plugs right off of your cigarette lighter. No fuss, no muss. It is what it is. The folks over at Seek Thermal Imagers, I as a guy who has had to procure equipment for firemen who damage things, it is certainly nice to pay $700 as opposed to $7,000 for a thermal imager. At the end of the day, we're not curing cancer with it. We're not looking through it. There's nothing tactical about it. It's just a tool. It's not a tactical Halligan. It's not a tactical roof hook. It's just a camera. And that's all it is. We don't need to call it tactical thermal imaging for anything that's absolutely ridiculous and asinine. Last two ones I want to talk about real quick is Rock Rooster. You want to be the cock of the walk? Rock out with your cock out. Get you some Rock Roosters, boy. If you use the code BOX1971 or BOX,
1971.
you will get 15% off at checkout. And Mikey at First In Leather, he is originally from North Carolina. He now works for the Federal Fire Department. I think he's working for the Department of Navy, maybe up in Maryland somewhere. But he crafts some of the best leather work that I've ever laid eyes on. If you destroy your work, he will replace it. Absolutely. If you use code BOX1971 or BOX,
1971.
you'll get 10% off your order. That's at First In Leather. So, Big John, you had a question for young Channing?
I did. I hate to bring up the past, but I want to know about your past. With you being a young officer, who took you in and showed you the way to I guess for a better word, lay the pavement down for you, I guess, if you will.
There was a bunch of people. I still do it. Chief Inman, great guy. When I started, he was a master fireman. There's a funny story about
I call him the holder of the persimmons. Go ahead.
Chief Inman, Captain Jacobs, a bunch of guys I look up to.
Captain Jacobs, he's the one that does the dancing. He's a, what do they call those, mascots?
The jack of all trades.
Yeah, he's
not your average Indian.
He's like a furry.
One-handed push-ups, man.
Dude, he's a beast.
One-handed push-ups.
The man's a beast.
Man's got it going on.
Yeah. Have you heard about his side hustle?
Boy, some of those go.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, the dude's
That's
got
questionable.
he's got a good side hustle.
It's very good.
I love him though. I love him.
Oh, he's a great guy.
He's a good boss.
Keeps the car.
Oh, yeah.
He never. I wonder. He's a lot. This is gonna sound terrible as it comes out, but my wife, when she wakes up, and when she goes to sleep, she's out.
That's him.
I think Captain Jake's the same way because, like, when he walks somewhere, it's always with a purpose. There's no like half step. It's always. Whoosh.
That might be a facade.
You think so?
Oh no!
When
it's
you walk
legit.
fast, people think you're on important business. They don't want to interrupt you.
But it
And
starts.
maybe he
You
just
walk
does. He don't want
slow,
to.
People
So
are
you're
like,
telling
"Hey, Cap, I
you're
got
telling me
something."
he's calculated.
I think he's just that smart. He realizes he can cut out 3/4 of the bullshit if he walks fast everywhere he goes.
It's like if you look busy, you are busy.
Exactly.
You know, I can respect that.
Sometimes I want to carry around a briefcase just so that I look important.
Fair enough. I didn't mean to hijack you.
Oh, you're fine. No.
So, anyways, those guys brought you under their wing.
Yeah. A bunch of guys learned to fight fire from some go-getters. Guys I look up to. I still look up to them this day.
Right.
I take bits and pieces from those guys.
Sure.
And I feel like that helped me a lot.
Have you ever worked with somebody that taught you the wrong things to do and not what to do? It's
acad-
okay. It's
in our
okay.
academy.
We're gonna
I've worked with some people, yes.
we're not gonna say the names of the guilty to protect them, but I think we've all worked with people that taught us something we didn't want to learn. I can think of one in particular, an old chauffeur that I had. Boy, I could tell you. We'll have to tell you off the record about that. Me and Big John could take you in a Wayback Machine, Bo. It's we got in some trouble. Not really trouble. We got fussed at. We didn't get in trouble. I've been yelled at before. It was more like a fussing.
Yeah.
Is what it is. So what made you want to get in the fire service? What stoked it for you?
My brother done it. A bunch of friends of mine that I grew up with. I've watched them be in the fire service, and it struck my curiosity. So one day I rode the fire truck with them. They was like, "Hey, we ride
Wait,
the fire truck?"
they let you ride the fire engine?
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't say that
did.
whole. They didn't say that whole insurance. Oh, good Lord, we can't
It's
afford the
blame
liability.
It's blame everybody. Nah. But it struck my curiosity, and when I first got into it, I knew Coleman was a paid fireman. I never really knew any paid fireman. I didn't know that you could actually make it a career. So
You can make a meager living.
Yeah.
it's the greatest job in the world.
Oh, I don't
love
disagree
it.
with you.
Yeah, don't disagree that
I
at
don't
all.
disagree, but you can make a meager living.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to get rich.
So I'll tell you this much about Lieutenant Horton. We actually got hired together. I got hired at a full-time status. Channing got hired as a part-time status, and they didn't have enough people to make the academy, so I got sent back through it to get certified again. Channing was missing a few classes, and the two other individuals we had with us, one was certified and the other one was a lost cause.
Here you go.
So we actually started this new program they were wanting to do. Physical PT every morning before class, academy 9 to 5, the whole shebang. Leave, have no real interaction with the actual guys on shift just to prevent any bad habits, bad information,
fair.
bad apples. And
No prejudgments.
right. And so when you work beside people for, a little bit of time, you can actually start to see what they're going to be. What are they going to stand for? What are they going to react to? How hard are they willing to work? We did probably some of the most hands-on in that academy that you'll see in you'll see more in a lot of other academies. Before regulations became too hard about burning and all that fancy stuff. But Channing always stood out in the class. If it wasn't just him by himself, it was him with whoever was in his group. You started to see that, I wouldn't say excellence or perfection, but you could see the hard work followed him no matter where he went. When we got put on shift and I went to my shift and he went to his, we were no longer working together. Overtime brought us back a few times, but it was something that we never forgot. I still talk to Channing this day about work, personal, hung out outside of work. Our families know each other very well. Madison, and he knew my wife before Madison came along. So, we have that connection. It's good to see him in the position he's in now, especially being young, not always having been in a relationship, not having anything to tie him down, not seeing him waste his time partying, having more fun than worrying about the job, when in reality, he was worried more about the job than he was having fun.
Yeah.
So I think that's what set him apart than a lot of other people in the assessment center to begin with.
Sure.
Channing has built his reputation, his resume is pretty extensive for his age and how long he's been with this department.
So you would say he's self-motivated.
Very much so.
Self-starter.
Okay, cool.
Very much so.
I don't think there's anything wrong
Channing
with that.
didn't hesitate when it came to his fireman too, his streets. He knows the streets 10 times better than I do. I don't know if it's because he's younger, so things learn
smarter.
easier towards him.
He's smarter.
Channing
I was
is
surrounded
very
by very good
intellectual.
people.
But I think that's where coming in, understanding people, what they're going to do, what they're like,
There's 10 years between you two?
and providing them.
Have a,
31. I'm 31, so
Oh shit,
6
you've
or
aged
7
like
years.
milk, dude. My bad.
Yeah. So I think that just goes to show the right person on the right shift can
It's that hard living, bro.
do good things.
No,
you know?
and I will tell you, Channing, and then this isn't a ego stroke by any means.
nah, definitely don't want that.
I got primed on you before we ever met, and that's probably why I was a little hard on you. I shouldn't say that. Back up. Retract that. That's why I was more difficult on you. You never say hard on you for someone. That
It's kinky.
It's an inside joke, but so there's a lot of you when I look in the Wayback Machine with me. So I was on the track that you were on, and young, wanted to go get it, didn't focus. Hell, I didn't get married till 10 years ago. Just celebrated 10 years, and my wife is absolutely a saint. She tolerates a lot of shit.
True that.
I mean, she absolutely does. But marrying someone who understands, that's how we met, was an engine company operations class that I was instructing in burning at. That she gets it, right? Like,
Yeah.
she understands what it's like to run calls at 3 a.m. She understands, like, when I come home from shift and I'm dog tired and I just want to be left the fuck alone. She understands that, hey, I'll wake you up at 11 because you don't want to sleep all day.
Yeah.
But she'll let you get a few winks in.
Yeah.
She understands that when the boys come over and we're going to smoke cigars and train, and I use air quotes when I say that, that we never really get anything done. I've been trying to hem John up to come and help me clean up, and I can't. No money in the world will help. He won't do it. Like, I just can't get him to do it. Maybe I can hire you. You're young, strong back, weak mind. Maybe I can get you to come up to the
I
house
think
and do
he's
it.
insulted.
Well, he can't lift no more. He's a weakling. We can't. He's not no workhorse.
I don't know. We got the trailer done in a weekend. That
Buddy,
was impressive.
That was impressive. But we had Bill Cox's boy Eddie.
We did.
With the spinders that I forgot just now. I just now noticed.
She
that I
was
left
shocked
them
that we got that done.
laying in the cigar lounge. My bad, Chief. I'm so sorry. Eddie's suspenders are laying up there from when we went and had the cigars and lost track of time and had to finish up the next day. But that's the fun part. You know, this job has taken me places that I never thought I would go. You know, when I think back of, you know, I've panned for gold in the Bering Sea. I've helped pull a whale in. I've helped do some amazing things. Got to be on glaciers. You know, been on some TV shows. Not the bullshit that you see like Lone Star. What is that? Lone Star 911 and Chicago Fire. None of that bullshit.
They go to jobs.
You know, this came up the other day, and I wanted to talk about it real quick, Channing. And
Okay.
so I know that, you know, you have a social media, and I've kind of weaned myself off social media because I just get tired of the ugliness of people.
It's so bad.
Oh, people are toxic. You know, if they don't agree with you, it's off to the races.
I just want to nut punch people sometimes,
Yeah.
and you can't.
No. And you can't tell them to fuck off because then they'll call your boss.
Yeah.
They'll find out where you work.
They'll put you in Facebook jail.
Yeah.
Been
That's,
there.
For those who have Facebook.
yeah. I mean, they will put you in Facebook jail. I mean, it is what it is. But when you work with a group of people, you expect certain things from them.
Yeah.
And for me, I have a difficult time with the social media aspect because I always tell people, may your life be as good as you pretended it to be on social media.
Living my best life.
Yeah, you're living your best life. Oh, look, I ate a salad. Congratulations. Don't care. You know, I partially, you know, like I just logged in and I had a shit ton of notifications and all I did was clear out the thing so I didn't have to look at the thing. But, you know, I look at all these people that are, you know, share this post, copy and pasted. You know,
Good luck.
You know, here's a picture of my granddaddy and his gun. You know, here's a picture of, oh, we're in love. Here's a great picture. I was tagged. You know, I wasn't there, but I somehow got tagged in a photo. Like I care, right? You know, but folks want to share things and they want to share their lives, and I think that's great. But I would rather surround myself with people that actually genuinely care. You know, that's one thing that we have strived for. You think about it. We sit down, we film these podcasts, and we sit down and talk, and we have a social aspect, right? 8/10 of the people here aren't going to contribute anything, but we're all together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That togetherness brings us together. And it gives us our sense of community. It gives us our sense of self-worth. It gives us our sense of pride and ownership and duty. I think that's one thing we're lacking as a job as a whole, is that. I think that I've noticed it in the last at least 5 years, maybe 10 more, that things are just kind of dwindling. You know, people don't want to work. That was evident when we went to eat last night. Hour and a half later to eat a burnt piece of chicken. But I ate it gladly because I was hungry.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you have vacancies and you can't fill them, or, you know, it's a tough road to hoe. And you're in a bad spot because, one, you're young. People don't think you're battle tested.
Yeah.
Right? Have you ever heard these things? You've heard, they don't have the balls to say it to your face.
Yeah.
They never do they? No, they'll go talk shit to everybody else, but they won't say it to you. That's
No balls.
Do you know why that is? Do you know why? They're scared to death. Because you're
Scared
everything.
of competition.
No,
thinking,
you're everything that they're not.
You're better.
You are everything that they are not. And that's okay. Like I said, I don't worry about being liked by everybody.
Yeah.
You know, my friend Junior Staggs, 9-time champion auctioneer, he says, I'm like an old country song. You get 3 chords and the truth. And I firmly believe that. You get 3 chords and the truth. And you shouldn't have to worry about impressing others with your job knowledge or your scope, or anybody that's listening to this. You should stop trying to measure yourself against other people.
Yeah.
Because you end up fighting a losing battle. You end up fighting a losing battle that it never wins. It never wins. And it never works out in someone's favor when you're trying to play a game that you can't win.
Right.
We saw that. I mean, we worked in a bigger agency that we saw people stepping on people to get a leg up.
Yes.
and it didn't work out well for anybody.
No.
It led to a lot of severed relationships. It led to a lot of negativity. It led to a lot of distrust. I think that would be a fair way to say it, wouldn't it? I mean,
Even morale issues.
yeah, it destroys morale. It's like a cancer. And then on top of that, when you're in a slow house, you can, it's very difficult to keep morale up, and then you have to worry about everybody's, what's he doing this weekend? Did he buy a new bass boat? Did he buy a new mascot costume? Is he out jumping around? I will tell you, I have to tell you this story, Channing.
Okay.
So the captain that you aforementioned, I was on vacation, and we went to a hockey game, right? I love some hockey, and it was junior hockey. So we got a free period of hockey because they went into overtime, and it was fun. The home team won. It was great. So that captain made such an impression on me that I took a video and sent it to him during the game, because the mascot came out on the ice skating, like barnstorming skating. Just the video, didn't he? I mean, it was good, wasn't it? And I told him, I said, this is how a real mascot acts. And the crowd was going absolutely wild. Am I lying? The cap is sitting right here to my right, to your left. I did that, didn't I? I'm there with my wife having a good time. But he made such an impression on me that even when I was away from this job, completely disconnected from anything related to the fire service, I still found time to bust his balls. And I'm waiting for the day that he will bust mine back. But that's okay. There's a difference between professional tact and decorum and being just fucking a shitbag, a shitbag human.
Yeah.
If you can't come say it to me,
Don't say it at all.
like
There's no point in it.
we were messing with one of the captains earlier who was riding up as the chief. I said, hey, they said this. And he's like, you tell him to come say it to me with me, you and him here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, easy, killer. We was just playing. Oh, all right. But he thought it was serious. People that have integrity want to get to the bottom of it. They want to put me in a room with him. I worked with a chief that, and I could show you the articles, was just arrested on elderly abuse. Yeah.
Special place for people who have children and old ladies.
I don't know what the circumstances are, but my phone lit up. Bad deal. Bad deal.
Yeah.
Very recent too. Like we're talking like 5 days ago. This happened. So, and I get it. There's always three sides of the story: the A side, the B side, and the truth. And I don't believe everything I read on the internet, but there's got to be something there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it just happened, there's got to be, especially if it's current and new.
Had my great grandmother. She got called for jury duty. She went in front of the judge and everything. He said, "Ms. Horton, what do you think about this case?" She said, "Well, nothing happened. Then none of us will be here." So, you know what I'm saying? If neither one of them would have been doing something,
Right.
we wouldn't be here.
Well, I agree to a point.
Okay.
I agree to a point. And you make a fair point, and I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this too, boys. I want to hear your thoughts. So, I think we can agree that some prosecutors may be overzealous.
Yes.
Election time. Want to make themselves seen.
Have better stats.
Yep. It's all about stats. Think about the guy that took Kyle Rittenhouse to trial. Don't worry about the aspect of the case. Highly publicized case, right?
Yeah.
Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's not what we're here to discuss.
It's set for life now.
But the people that got up in the media and salaciously slandered him are going to pay dearly.
Yeah.
Dearly. And think about the prosecutor who got up and did all the egregious acts that he did in an open courtroom. He just happened to have it televised. Think about all the courtrooms in America.
It's not displayed. It's not shown. It just happens.
It happens without fanfare, and it happens behind closed doors. You can't even go into our courthouse in our county with your phone.
Really?
No, sir.
Nope, can't in Hope County either.
You
And
can
they check you.
You cannot. You cannot. Why? What is there to hide? Come on. Is that a fair point?
It is, yeah.
Is it not a building of the people? This firehouse. If somebody walks into this firehouse right now and records us, is anybody worried about it?
I just asked them if they want help looking around.
Yeah. Can I open up a compartment and show you tools? You know, I mean, I can't show you the chief's office. That's his office. But I can show you my office. I can show you the bedrooms. I can show you the bathrooms if you want to look around. I can show you the kitchen. You probably don't want to look in the fridge because it's always a mess. I don't know of any firehouse kitchen that isn't like perfectly clean unless it's like a suburb.
Or a brand new fridge.
Or like they just plugged in.
Friday afternoon.
Before
after
food
it's
and
been cleaned
firefighters
out.
got into it.
Yeah, because we are not good creatures. You think about things. Look at it perspective. That's one thing I want you to take with you is perspective. Remember how I told you I'm not a fan of young officers,
Yeah.
but I'm not a fan of old officers or people overstaying their time.
Yeah.
Some people, it's Icarus. I do believe in Greek mythology. Rose too fast, burn his wings.
Flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, don't be in such a hurry to fly so high.
That is not fireworks, bruh.
Hear that?
Yeah, that is a gunshot firework. That'll be like a 52 Delta here
It's
in a
the
minute.
sound of the people.
That's the sound of the people.
At least it's happening before midnight.
Yeah, no kidding. Get it out of the way, boys. We want to get some sleep after midnight.
That's why the windows are higher in the fire station. I'm just kidding. That's
Protected. But that's why you get that life experience, right?
Yeah.
You look at things through a different perspective,
But it's all about staying humble.
Yeah,
That's
You
it.
you can rise too fast,
too quick.
and it can be a good thing or a bad thing.
Correct.
But finding out how to become humble is the hard part.
Humility is tough.
Well, what you see as a too old or too young is different than what somebody else looks at it. Some people base it off age. Some people base it off years of service. Some base it off years of service at which the department in which you're serving,
Sure.
not just total time within the service. So, it's one of those things where you have to be open to the criticism process, and I think that's where the paper. I'm brain farting the paper that I wrote.
Oh, you're talking about your imposter
Imposter
syndrome.
Imposter
syndrome.
syndrome comes in. It's knowing, one, how to evaluate yourself. The second, always allowing people to
Have you shared
evaluate
that paper
you.
with Channing?
I have not.
I think it'd be a good paper for you to read.
It's just one of those things that you don't realize what's happening until it's too late. And sometimes it can defeat you. You can be defeating yourself, or you can be allowing others to defeat you. It's just
We are
one of
our
the things
own-
I've learned.
The hardest thing is to be your own critic.
Yes.
And it is very difficult to sit back and look at yourself. A wise man once told me the hardest thing he ever did was look in the mirror and talk to himself. So I tried it.
Yeah. Very.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
The wife ain't,
I know what you're saying.
home. The dogs are laying on the dog bed. The phone is away from you. Go have a serious conversation with yourself in the mirror.
Affirmation statements. They work.
Ask yourself questions
Yeah.
in the mirror.
Why? And if you find yourself looking down at the counter at the Barbasol sitting there that you shave with, we probably got a problem. But if you can sit there and look at yourself, different story.
And truly find out who you are.
Yeah.
You are seeing your own emotion.
You see what everybody else is seeing.
Bruh.
You see their perspective. I went to National Fire Academy this year. Big step.
How was that?
It was a very good experience. I
How'd you like-
highly recommend it.
Did you like the Odd House?
I enjoyed it very much.
Go ahead.
No, one of the class I took was perspectives and theater, perspectives and thinking.
Okay. Who taught the class?
A guy from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I can't think of his
local
name
one.
right off, but it was a very good class. It was more based on conversations. my thinking, what I'm thinking. He could say, "What do y'all think about this?" He opened it up to the classroom. I could think of something. Say it. Joe across the classroom can say another thought, another side of how to look at this situation, and it really gets you to thinking about, damn, there's more ways to think than what's going through your head.
Different perceptions
Yeah.
from other folks, right?
Yeah. So like you have this situation. I see it my way, but am I really seeing it the way that my guys are seeing it? I'm
Right.
seeing it from this side, but they're saying, "Hey, what about
What
this?"
angle they see it from?
Yeah, and you have to take that into consideration. Very good class.
Absolutely.
What do you think about? And I want you to be honest and critical. I mean, I know this probably isn't the forum you want to talk about it, and I like uncomfortable conversations sometimes. What's your weak point as a leader?
I'm still finding my way. Still finding my leadership style. How to deal with those difficult situations. I'm still learning to this day. I learn every day.
Do you know what's really tough? Is when you get hired by a guy and he's your boss, and then the tables turn, and you're his boss.
Yeah.
That's a weird situation.
Yeah.
That's a fucked up conundrum because it happened.
And we're still with it, buddy.
Still my buddy. He's my ride or die. You know, I mean, I don't know. I just think about things. Think about how people perceive things. It's hard to have conversations. If I have to have a difficult conversation, I've probably played it over 20 times in my head before I said it.
I feel like in those situations, I mean, I can't speak for you or whatever. but
Sure.
I could think of a conversation and how, like, okay, I think about this 10 different ways how it can go. Never goes that way.
No, it never does.
Never
There's
does.
always a variable. So you
Exactly.
know what I found myself doing? I'll set my phone up on a little like holder, and I'll record myself having the conversation.
To see how they're going to take what you
No,
say.
I'm not saying record the conversation with the individual. You know, if you have to have a difficult conversation, there are laws that protect things against that.
Oh, yeah.
But it might be city policy, it might be your own state law. But what I'm saying is that when you have that conversation and you want to build your skills, when we put you in those scenarios, we probably should have recorded them. That's probably on us. We probably should have let you see how you interacted, your body language, your eye contact, how you shuffled your hands, how you shuffled your feet, your
Verbal cues.
nonverbal cues. Thank you. To see how you react.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm dismissive and I'm looking down and away from you all the time, that's not a good thing. But if I'm looking at you making eye contact, it becomes not an intense but a respectful situation. Now, if we're just staring at each other like, you know,
Mirror.
Yeah.
jackasses and there's no nonverbal cues, you can tell if somebody's pissed off just by watching them walk, how they interact with somebody, how they send a text message, how they put their phone in their pocket. You can kind of tell, you know, when they start throwing their hands up in disgust, you know something is wrong, right? So you're still finding your way.
Yes.
Here's the good news: you're never really going to find your way. I'm gonna save you trying to find it. I didn't know I was looking for him. There is, because the second you think you got it figured out, I'm gonna take my boy Juju back here. I love Juju. My boy Juju is going to be managed completely different than how I would manage Curtis. I can't say the same things to Curtis that I could to Juju, and vice versa. I can't say the same things to Eddie, or the same way that I would say it to Eddie, as I would John. We can all do the same job,
Yeah.
but that dynamic, the second that you think you got it figured out, the man with 5 on his collar is going to find a way to fuck it up. They always do. They always
Chaos.
do. No offense to him. No, nothing. No offense to any chief anywhere. But they're going to want to put their own little spin on it because that's what they do.
Yeah.
'Cause
That's
you would
chaos.
you would do the same thing. Chief has arrived on scene.
That's right. Chaos.
You would do the same thing. The only thing we want to do is come in, put a gear on the rig, run calls. Right?
Be fireman.
Yeah.
What do chiefs want to do? They wish they could go back.
Yeah.
How do they go back?
Go on the calls.
Going to calls,
Managing.
micro, over, however you look at it. They want to jump in on it, right?
Their input.
Everybody wants to have a say. That's one of the hardest things as a boss is to know when to have their say.
Yeah.
Like you can have the say here on the bay floor, that's fine. You want to go in the office, that's fine. Fireground or working scene, it ain't the place.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't a discussion. You know, I had to write a paper recently talking about leadership styles. What would you adopt? I said there's no one way that you can adopt because on the fireground it's a very autocratic deal. You know,
Yeah.
this is the way. It's.
Do this job I told you to do.
But if I'm that way about lunch, if I come in and say, hey, we're only eating chicken salads for lunch, you're going to be like, I'm tired of this shit, Daddy. Well, that's too damn bad. Right? That's
That's
how
like
it's,
the open door policy. I hate that.
yeah, people
I
say it's
hate
open
that.
door, and it's really not.
Well, I mean, it is if they truly abide by it. But what are you causing? You are causing a massive shitstorm of problems to your door. Unwillingly, unknowingly, you're not prepared.
sometimes,
because
I think
you
sometimes
said-
they want it.
Hey, I got an open door. Anytime you want to come talk to me, come on in.
And then you circumvent everybody.
And it's
you
like
take it out of your hands, you take it out of the lieutenant's hands, you take it out of the battalion chief's hands.
it's like cool. I mean, personal issues, I got no problem dealing with it from other guys on my shift, other shifts. But if it's like a personnel problem, hey man, I ain't overstepping nothing. You might want to have this conversation with your superiors, your shift,
Right.
outside of somebody saying, hey, I got a problem drinking, man. Hey, I knew you got one. What's up? I'll talk to you. You call me about something that's operating on your shift, I'm not stepping on that. Every shift is different.
Very finicky.
I'm not doing that.
That's a different sandbox. Go.
I'm not finding the cat shit in that box.
Some people
not
want you to
worth
go
it.
sifting, though.
Nope.
Fishing.
I feel like that caused a lot of problems.
It does.
Yes.
Especially
I've seen
with
it.
the way our OT works. You never know what shift you're going to be working on. There's days where the chief comes in, hey guys, what the hell shift's working today? We're supposed to be Battalion 2, but that truck's Battalion 1. Station 3's got Battalion 3 on it. We've only got one truck of our shift. Damn. Then he does it again the next day. And it's always different. You just never know. But you cause that ripple. You don't know who you're going to be working with on OT. It's wherever they want to put you.
Right.
It's whatever works.
Yeah.
You know, Chief Scanlon, God rest his soul, he was the one of the original framers of our officership program. And he would always say a few things to people. For those that never got to meet him, he would always say, may you cash more pension checks than you did paychecks. Firmly believe that. That is a tough, tough deal to do.
Well, nobody gets out alive.
Yeah.
True.
Hardly anybody does their full 20, 30, whatever retirement they were brought up in
Right.
without physical
Yep.
or mental,
Mental.
Yep.
disabilities
Yep.
from it.
Yep. Absolutely. And sometimes the hardest thing is to sit back and listen to the old guys. You know, and I remember there was an issue, not an issue, there was a situation where old-timers, retirees coming around, but they're not around enough. And that's a hard thing because retirees, you think about it. You sit here today, when you retire, is this the place you want to come on your days off? You retired. You're doing what you want. You bought your Class A motor coach. You're doing whatever. You got your fishing
It
boat.
is so I can get coffee out of that coffee pot and spill it on the floor on my way out. I will change my direct deposit to a cash check when I retire so that I can come up here, take a shit, leave it a mess, get coffee, and spill it on the floor on the way out. And question where the new guy's at.
That's fair. You know, that's fair.
It is.
Absolutely.
You've earned it.
But
You have done your time, sir. Yes, sir.
But I mean, the majority of people, I get it. You're a special case, but
Thank you.
majority of people are going to go, I want to go to the mountains. I want to go to the beach.
I've seen some people retire and see them one time a year driving by.
yep.
Right?
Well, think too.
When they retire, they retire. They don't
Yeah.
come up here on their days off. Or whenever they're all, every day's off. But they don't come by and say, hey, yeah, how you doing? Or how y'all doing?
Man, that's a new nice ladder truck y'all got.
No.
They don't care.
But
People
it
retire.
is nice
They
to see
literally
him
retire.
coming to bat.
It is it is nice
That
to come.
that
right.
was a shock to a
see,
lot of people.
To see people step up on y'all's behalf.
To see the ones and myself more than others. Why are we spending money? They only come around once a year to eat. I don't know them. They don't know me. But to see that even after retirement, not having a single clue about how we're operating, what we're doing, why we're doing it, they still
I don't think it's a bad idea.
are raising hell about the fact that we're not getting taken care of to their liking.
Somebody, was it you that brought up the point of fireman cards? Was that you?
No, that was me.
That was you?
Yeah, that was
I don't
me.
think that, honestly, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think what is a good idea is maybe to make a list and have a picture and just keep a current list of who's retired, who's around, where they live. I don't think there's anything wrong with the crew stopping out while they're doing district studies and saying, hey, man,
Right.
we just want to check in. We noticed your limbs were low. Can we knock them things down for you? Take 5 minutes, right? Because those guys are the ones that paved the way. You know what I mean? Those guys paved the way for us to be here. They're the ones that endured the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, the 90s. I don't think there's anything wrong with showing a little bit of humility. I always tell one of the guys, I love him to death, but he'll post on social media, I'm so humbled and honored. That statement fires me up, and it probably shouldn't. But Curtis, you hit on it earlier. It is far easier to stay humble than be humbled. And I remind people of that it is easier to just be, hey man, I want to learn this job. Someday I want to be good at this job. I often wonder what would somebody say about, this person if, what would they say about their skills if they weren't here? Is that guy on point? Is he the guy you want coming for him? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know. I want to leave the job better than we found it. And I don't think it was broken when I found it. Yeah, one fireman at a time. You think we're joking? I mean, I don't give a shit if there's one guy or 100 guys. We're gonna work with what we got, and we're gonna teach people, and we're gonna do the right thing. And we're gonna laugh along the way. We're gonna have a cigar, and eat good usually. Right?
Hog's meat bowl.
Hog meat. You love hog meat, don't you? How are your pigs doing?
They're doing great. Doing phenomenal.
I got a video.
Still eating gushers.
I got a video.
Still playing outside.
I got a video of me feeding them pigs, them bottom teeth.
Weasley and Hermione. It's the most non-annoying mouth chomping that you can deal with. Like when you're out in public or you're at the fire station, you're like, hey man, shut your damn mouth when you chew. But I'll sit there and feed them back to back to back, just, and it doesn't get annoying.
Yeah.
You just keep going. Ooh, gushers, peppermints.
Well, shit,
They
you
love
do that to me, I'd do the same thing.
All right.
I mean,
Keep feeding me.
Where's my gushers at?
You chose to feed them to the pigs.
Oh, my bad.
That's why I gave you 6 packs.
Yeah.
When did we get
I
ice
actually
cream?
fed them 4 and ate 2.
See?
It's a true confession. They were good. Hadn't had them in a long time. Don't judge me.
Gushers is a throwback.
Them
that you
pigs
like.
them pigs, they ain't missing no meals. I promise you.
No.
They ain't missing no meals.
2 cups a day.
2 cups a day.
Every day.
Beans and hay.
They let you know
When it's
they're
time to
hungry.
eat.
Yes.
Fair enough. You got any weird animals?
No.
No?
I have a normal. No. I own a German short-haired pointer, and it is mine and Madison's child. Truly.
Yeah. I can feel
She's
you.
treated like a human. We get what she is. I mean, she's a human.
Do you talk to her?
Yes,
They FaceTime.
definitely.
They FaceTime.
Every night.
She,
When we finish this, I will get on here. Like, I will FaceTime her and tell her good night.
Okay, hang on.
We
I've
had a
gotta
birthday
ask.
party. I have
FaceTime
pictures.
the dog.
I was
Can we do this as a
I had
group?
a fireman who had a birthday party for their dog.
Yes.
You did that.
Invited family over, yes.
Oh, I didn't do that. I made the dog cake.
Holy Jesus.
I made it an oatmeal cake that was like
Dog
safe-
approved?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've done that. My old dog's getting old, Bo. He's like 14.
Well, they deserve
But he's
it.
a sweet boy.
He's getting old, Bo. Man, our turkey got killed.
I know. I remember you telling me.
So
Mr.
we had
Gobbles.
we had a slate gray turkey who would meet every car at the driveway.
Curtis told me about that. He said
Yeah.
he sees his reflection in the chrome and
Yeah.
struts all day long.
All day.
That's
He
impressive.
drums and spits.
Yep. And he'll be like, "Oh, I'm leaving. Who's that?" And then
Yeah.
back at it.
and then he'll come over, but damn coyote or a fox got him. We don't know which is, but we are We got Dick Tracy on the case, and they'll figure it out.
You could gobble in the building 100 yards away and give it less than 5 seconds, and he's a gobble back.
Yeah.
It was great.
And he would come, and he would come out. We'd be working, and he'd stand at the door because he knew where you're at.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sad deal.
But yeah, we did have her birthday party. Cake and everything.
Well, that's
It was
good, though.
Did you have them goofy ass hats?
Yeah. Well, she did. We got her a T-shirt.
You just told
It's my birthday.
You know what though?
Les Pauli. I'm not lying, bro.
Are you shitting me?
I'm gonna choke.
Give me a second. Hold on.
Let's party.
Let's party.
PAWT.
Wow.
Just think, you come and put your blood money out. Oh, we're looking at a picture. Oh my God, she even posed and everything. Wow,
You have a beautiful.
animal. That's a beautiful specimen.
Yes,
Fur baby.
absolutely. Fur baby. Yeah,
Fur baby.
absolutely.
I don't
She's
even.
human.
I don't even know what to say to you
September
right
1st, 2020.
now. I mean,
Good on you, son.
Yeah,
you
you
got
know,
to start somewhere. That's all right.
hell yeah. Wow.
Pretty impressive, man. I never saw I'm not a cat person. I've always liked dogs, but I never understood the connection of dogs to human.
Until
That guy called out before because his dog died. I understand that connection now.
So let me ask you this:
It's one of the great things
How
my
do you
wife
deal with
has
that as a
introduced me
boss?
to.
Because this is a real deal. Like John. So John's job, he'll tell you. What do you tell people about one of your benefits at work?
I can get insurance for my dogs.
Now
It's
his
true.
dog,
We just got our credit card.
You can't do that, dude. That's illegal.
What? You got a
Can't put
credit card?
Sure,
in the
yeah.
dog's name.
Yes, it was Madison,
Oh,
but it's for her emergencies.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
pretty
could see that.
serious.
I could see that, absolutely.
so I can't believe we're supposed to be talking about cigars and fireman shit, and here we are talking about puppy dogs
Hey,
and birthday.
it's family.
No,
I think it's great.
But let me ask you this: so you have that death. How do you deal with that? Because it's not covered by any city policy or any fire department policy, is it?
It's one of those things where you look out for your guys.
Say that louder for the people in the
You
back.
look out for your guys. I mean, you take care of them. It's truly a family. I know more about some of the guys I work with than some of my close family. I mean, I spend a third of my life here.
Right.
It's very taxing on my family, and it's taxing on us guys. But if I know something is important to him, he's going to recognize that. And it's me as a human. I'm going to look out for him in that situation
Not as a boss, but as a human.
as a human.
You framed that so eloquently.
Yeah, but some dig too damn far.
Well, it's like
If a guy calls me and says, "Hey, Cap, I'm not going to be able to make it to work tomorrow." All right, cool.
It's not your job.
My
to
question is, are you okay?
Yep.
Do you need anything?
Yep.
If something happens, call me.
Yep.
It's not my job to find out as to why. And our policy doesn't say you have to ask them. It just says an hour before work, the minimum, they have to verbally call you.
We have a 12-hour before
So
policy and then after 12, and it shows up on your, like when you log into your self-service, it shows like how you called out, when you called out, how you called out. Like it's a tracking. It's
So our emergency reporting is documented.
right.
yeah,
But I'm
the
saying
problem
like
was-
for data gathering,
Yeah.
right? Like did
Figure
they
out
call out
how
12 hours
often-
early? Were they sick?
Yeah.
Were they truly sick? Did they have an emergency? Did something happen? A lot of those things, documented.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
well, some just dig too far. What do you mean you can't come to work? What's wrong? Are you sick? Are you puking? Well, hey, I just can't come to work.
right. It's not our job to question
Legally.
why.
You're not asking me.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything. I mean, and then in the volunteer world, oh goodness, they can't come to training.
Football games on.
No, Monday Night Football is kind of important.
Well, I mean, if you're the mascot,
Well, shit, it don't come on till
you
9
don't-
o'clock.
I mean, if Captain Jacobs is going to be the Panther, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably going to ask him for a ticket so I can go watch.
Dude, you don't even have to ask. When he was doing it, he was letting everybody know, I'll get you tickets. It may not be like on the field, but I can get you tickets
Yeah.
if you want to take your family.
Well, I mean but when you take care of your people,
Right.
I was like people before paper. I mean,
where'd you hear that at?
what was it? So, 197. Yeah, 1971, man.
You heard that from us.
Officer shit.
Yeah, people before paper.
Yeah.
Very.
That's good to hear, man.
Yeah,
That's good to hear.
People before
One
paper.
fireman at a time.
Somebody's trying to.
You
audition.
have to pay attention when you were scrutinized
Yeah,
for
when you-
being late for
Listen here,
8
man.
hours.
Did you?
I'm a back row Baptist.
No, you
But
was
that
Not that
day,
day.
you was a front row
boy.
friend, bro.
No coloring on the back row that day, but
No, man, we left to sleep in the bow. You know what I mean? We had to keep them awake, but we did it. We muscled through. But no, you bring up a valid point that people before paper. It's not your job to reason or why, but just to simply do.
And provide.
As a boss and as a leader, what we've been talking about today is very difficult to balance. And when we start, oh, I'm just gonna ride his ass up. Well, that doesn't solve any problems.
it just makes him mad.
Yeah.
And then
Let's figure out the problem, and
Creates
if we can't figure out the problem, there has to be a difficult conversation. What's the deal? What's the story?
Yeah.
But when we figure that out, then we let it go. We let it go and move on with life. I'm gonna. We try to end with words of wisdom. So I'm gonna give you a minute because you don't have much wisdom.
I can end with words, though.
Anybody's got words.
I know a bunch of them. Read a dictionary once.
I want to give a shout out to some of our amazing partners, and then we're going to come back and wrap this thing up. But the folks up at FireDex providing us with Tech Gen 51 and 71 gear. They take care of us so we can take care of them, and I absolutely believe that FireDex is some of the best gear that money can buy. If you're in the market for turnout gear and you want to see some good stuff, give the folks at FireDex a shout out. One of the only gears that is manufactured without PFAS or PFOA, and if you need to know what that is, get on social media, find Diane Cotter on PFOA in your turnout gear. It will absolutely blow your mind because all the decon at the scene doesn't do anything when the PFAS and PFOA is in your gear. It's a long chain carbon atom, and it's what they call a forever chemical. So you might want to dig into that if you're a current fireman and figure out what PFAS and PFOA is. You will probably be blown away. Can't say enough good things about our buddy down there in Dothan, Alabama, old Toby Matthews at Matex Hose. If you like key, you will absolutely love Matex. I don't care what people say. If you take a 2.5 off the pump panel and you do a flow test, it is a valid flow test. And I will stand by that to the death. So just if you're looking for hose and you want to put stuff, you want to compare apples to apples and get the best result and figure out what packs well, what deploys well with what nozzles, get with Toby over there at Matex. Destin Kelton will be more than happy to come out. And hell, if you want us to come out and flow water with you, we'll be more than happy to come out with you too as well. And lastly, but not least, we want to thank our friends up at Crestar. If you look at most of your couplings on most of your fire service, it is Redhead. Redhead is also Crestar. It's just another DBA. So with that, Big John, what do you got for us for words of wisdom for the evening to wrap this thing up? Nothing?
I got nothing. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. We'll come back to you. Maybe what Curtis has got. He looks like he's got something on his mind. So let's go to Curtis real quick and see what Curtis has got to say.
He was just trying to figure out what he's going to say too.
Well, I'll tell you what's on my mind.
Okay, talk to me.
Well,
If a giraffe drinks coffee,
Yep,
is it cold by the time it hits its belly?
fair question.
wow. It's pretty deep.
Is that
Just
iced
kinda
coffee?
stuff. No, it's hot coffee. But no, it's just never stop. You got to always keep pushing. You got to always try to do better and live better and always take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your crew and you can't take care of your department, and they won't benefit from you being here.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Channing, I hope you have something. Your
no.
25-year-old brain, you've got.
I'm an old soul, man.
I sure hope that you have something because
Just got to keep on keeping on, man. I mean,
life's a garden digging.
There you go.
Joe Dirte.
Joe Dirte.
You're my sister.
Don't get caught up on the small things. When the tone goes off, you got a job to do. It's the greatest job in the world. All the little things he said, she said don't matter when you're helping those that you serve.
It's fair. That's fair. Big John, what do you got?
Smile. Be kind. Don't give up, folks, you know. Don't compare yourself. Avoid negativity.
Oh, brother.
I tell you.
It may say Durham County over a Hots, but it would always be in a Hots. I said that to Curtis today. He said something I'm not limited today. And I quoted that. I laughed my ass off because there was only about 10 people in the world that would no, there was about 50 of us in the room. That heard
Yeah,
that.
but the next one would be make peace with your past.
You know what, though? That's a fair point.
Absolutely.
Make peace with your past. I'm down with it.
And lastly, take care of your body and mind. You're all they have.
That's fair.
You
That's
was
fair.
kind. You
Now,
was
boy,
smart.
I'm going to tell you, you dug deep. I'm proud of you this
Is that out
evening.
of a fortune cookie?
Confucius say, man, who stand on toilet high on pot. That's what Confucius said.
He also said go to bed with itchy honey, wake up with smelly finger.
Mercy sakes, they got. I think they call that worms. That's why dogs drag their butt.
I thought it was because it is.
I don't know. They say it's because of worms. Well, listen, we're going to wrap this thing up. I've got two things for you. Obstacles are what you see when you take your eye off the goal. And this last one, boy, it hits home. It could be, I don't know, maybe Battalion 3. Could be. This one's going to hit. It's going to hit. You ready? If you're not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you're determined to learn, no one will stop you. We appreciate your time sitting around with us. This is the Halligans and Half Wheels podcast. Be safe, everybody.